Get ready to the countdown.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
How are you? We are live. You are here with the glass table to this evening. Sharon is off tonight, but you are here with Mr. Tyler, Molly, Emma, Chessa, and PJ, and we have some special guests. So we're going to get right into it. Our first guest is Stacey Galvan. Hi, Stacey.
I'm sorry in advance about this right here.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Is that the boy or the girl?
Yeah,
oh, that's both of them.
This is my girl.
That's both of them tonight.
Yeah, this is my girl, honey, and that's my boy here. Somewhere. Yeah.
So tonight, this is our third installment of our tribute to activism. If you have been following us, and we know you have, if you've been following us, you know that our first video, we paid homage to old school activists. And in our last video, we talked from, help me out, Emma, from 2000 to 2015.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now we're going to bring it up to more present time, and we're going to talk about and celebrate activism and activists, all types of activism. As you'll see, those activism that we talked about in our first and our second installment is mirrored. We actually do a lot of the same things that the activists did before us. Go into newspapers, speak out in newspapers, protest. And we also have our own little remix of protesters because we do a little bit differently. If you followed us for our memorial special, you would have saw Chessa, our founder, not our founder. What am I talking about? The founder of Memorial, which is a different type of protest, and that's something that we saw previously in the other videos. And so let's get into it. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you for being
Can
here.
you hear me?
Yeah.
So I just want to let everybody know we tried to work all the sound issues out before. If you cannot hear us, let us know in the comments so that we can work it out really early in the stream. So because we're also recording a YouTube video, so we want our YouTube people to be able to see and hear us really well. So Stacey, why don't you start with giving us your ex-Jehovah Witness story, if briefly, if you don't mind, and then talk. And I don't know what you and Emma probably discussed. Okay, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I left. I left in 2013, and it was very lonely after leaving, obviously. And so I thought I'm gonna check out, see if there's any EXJW groups on Facebook. It just, just this idea I thought of before, and I found Emma's group, and so that was the first EXJW interactions I'd ever had, because I was in for like all my life, but like from age 18 till I was about 28 was I real serious, dedicated, you know, pioneering everything. And so I lost, you know, obviously everything, is everybody, all of y'all understand. But yeah, so I found Emma's group, and that was a huge source of comfort for me. And I also found a Ruben's group, and before it was archived, of course. And those were new experiences. Just my mind was blown because I had all this validation. I knew how I felt. Hello? Just kidding. It's not my
No, I'm very sorry. I should be on mute right now. Sorry.
It's okay. Okay, so one day somebody shared a post from a Jehovah's Witness site on Facebook, a Facebook page, and they were like, "Oh, this is disgusting. Look at what they're doing now." And I went and clicked on it, and I saw other people were saying apostate things on there, like, you know, you're a cult, and or I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was. I just knew it was very blasphemous for Jehovah's Witnesses. It was a huge no-no, and I'd never heard of that before. I've never seen it, and it was like intriguing for me, and kind of like, oh my gosh, I gotta see more of this. And so I would say something, you know, like you know, how you treat people, and you know, all this stuff. And then other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were also going on there, and they were like liking my comment and adding to it, and that was like that's when this whole new world of activism opened up for me. And I thought, okay, I gotta find a group of people who want to do this, because anytime I posted in any regular XJW groups, you'd get a lot of comments from other XJWs saying, just leave them alone, stop letting them control you, just move on with your life. And I'm like, this is therapeutic. It was real therapeutic to go to Jehovah's Witness pages and say anti-Jehovah's Witness things. So for me, it started out as a trolling thing for my own pleasure, like, you know, to get some satisfaction out of saying apostate stuff. And then it turned into a really meaningful cause. And so I started my own group, and I went into the other XJW groups. I said, if you want to, like I said, I was thinking about it as being trolling rather than activism. But then, and once I gathered up this big group of people, we would bombard JW pages, bombard review sections of on Google, on everywhere that had to do with Kingdom Halls, conventions, Jehovah Witness merchandise, and we would put the truth out there, you know, the actual truth. We put jwfacts.com, and it was such an exciting feeling to have an army, so to speak, of activists together supporting each other. And so my activism started behind the scenes, you know, long before I started my first cart crash. And it was amazing. Like at some point I you know, created a Jehovah's Witness persona, and I started friending a bunch of them. And the Jehovah's Witnesses on Facebook, if they see you have a jw.org on your on your profile picture, they're gonna throw themselves at you. I mean, I would log in and have 50, 60, sometimes over 100 friend requests. And so it didn't take long to get over 2,000-3,000 Facebook friends that were all largely Jehovah's Witnesses. So I would post something really cringe. I feel like I'm talking to myself because I just see myself right now. Y'all still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Yes, it's your close-up, Stacey.
Oh, okay.
It's your close-up, honey. Yeah, we're still here. We're in the background listening.
Okay. All right, awesome. And so, yeah, so I would post something really cringy, right? Something about, oh, I love Jehovah, blah, 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 praises and stuff. And they would share it on their own Facebooks. I'd get like 20, you know, it shows what people would share, 20 shares. And so I would alter, after I'd get some shares, I would alter the caption to say, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult who protect child molesters, and then put jwfacts.com. And then some of them you can see who shared it. And so I'd go to see who shared it in the comments, and they would be all fighting with each other. Why would you post something like this? Oh, I didn't know I said this. And it was just, oh my God, the most satisfying thing ever. And like, they started sharing like warnings saying, be careful who you friend, but they would just add me again as another persona. So it's like exposing that they're very easy to fool, sadly. And so that's kind of where I started building up my, I guess, my thickness of my skin, because I would get some really mean comments from Jehovah's Witnesses. So once I found my very first cart, I'd never seen a cart before, ever. A Jehovah's Witness, but next to their literature cart. I'd never seen it until one day I was on campus and they started setting up, and I'm like, oh my God. So my heart was racing out of my chest, right? Because that's for some reason us as EXJWs get that physical reaction when we see them, you know, like whether we want to throw up or we want to have a heart attack or something. And so I was like, well, screw it, I'm gonna crash it. And so I recorded it too, but it only caught like parts of it. So that was my very first cart crash, and then I became addicted and I started crashing more carts. And then I got invited to my first protest, which was in Warwick. And that was amazing because I finally got to meet in person other activists. And it was just, yeah. And that's why I got this tattoo here, to kind of remember it, you know, VAA 11/5/17. And it was fall, and it was up, you know, New York area. It's beautiful. So that was really the starting point. You know, it started with online, and then then before you know it, I'm crashing a convention with thousands of people in it, holding up a banner, and they're like with 50 men escorting me out. That was in Vancouver, Canada. That was pretty amazing too. But yeah, so I did that, and then London twice, and so yeah, New York, London, and Vancouver, and then cart crashes throughout the United States. So it's been amazing. I do feel like I'm getting kind of tired at this point, because there's only so much you can say. You know, I'm trying to get more creative, but I do hope one day to kind of I don't know, slow down, but I never want to stop. You know, at least raising awareness.
Stacey, that was a phenomenal opening. So, and thank you so much for giving us insight.
Too short or long.
No. It was your truth. It was your perspective. So we thank you so much for sharing that and sharing the protests. Because I'm actually a new activist. Like Molly and I are newer, and so when we were putting this project together, we had to have. I don't want to call y'all old school because a lot of you guys are not newer too. Not newer. Well, Emma, you've been around a little bit, right?
But I was going to say, Stacey, I'm so glad you found my group, and I forget that it was one of the first groups that you was in. So I feel kind of privileged that, and you've come so far since then. Like, it's amazing, and I really admire some of the stuff. You've got lady balls. Honestly, like when you go up to people on the college campus and stuff, and I'm just like, wow, because even do car crashes, I'm like my heart. Yeah, so yeah, I admire what you do.
Mm-hmm. It's that physical reaction that we get.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah, and I was looking through your group one day, like kind of at my old posts, now that they have that feature where you click on your name and it'll show you all the posts. You go all the way back to 2013, and it's like, oh gosh, it makes me cry because I see how far I have come, like you said, how far I have come. It's activism. I feel like it really it helps you gain your power back. It helps you gain some semblance of, well, some of your self-respect back, you know, and making it all worth it. Like I don't want to just, I can't just move on if I wanted to move on with my life, because they're everywhere. You see them set up their cards, you see their literature, they come to your door, you can't move on. So why not just you know, refuse to play their shun game and talk to them when you see them and tell them, hey, you know, you do know that your organization is under investigation and all this stuff, you know, just, you know, the whole spiel.
Just hit them with the truth.
Helping others, because I've had many people reach out, and I've had so many people email me, call me. I've met people in different countries that have given me hugs, crying and saying, you know, they thought they were alone until they came across, you know, one of my videos or something. And it's just, oh my gosh, yeah, it makes it all worth it. It makes all those years that I spent in the cult worth it to be able to help other people like that. So
Definitely.
It's amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you so much. We have people in the comments here that are very opinionated. I guess I'll say that about some things. So if you guys, do you have a channel, Stacey, that you want to plug?
Stacey Lopez.
Stacey Lopez. So you do have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll drop the
I did start
the link in the comments so you guys can go and subscribe to her channel. I did get a chance to briefly browse the channel like a couple weeks ago, and I just saw a lot of protest footage. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so you guys will be able to see Stacey live and in action with some of her protests, because she's sorry, I can't talk today. Uploaded a lot of that on her YouTube channel. So you guys, let's get to the comments and see if we have some questions here. It says, let's see, anything that's weird, that's kind of on topic here. We have Stacey's channel is Legend by JW Suicides. Thank you, JW Suicides, for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so nice. No, JW Suicide's channel is Legend.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see here. Let's see. We have David Wilkin here. Am I saying your name right, David? I should know your name by now. He always comments and follows us and watches our show. So thank you so much, David. She says Stacey has done tremendous work.
There is someone saying we're gonna be destroyed at Armageddon, and I'm like, come at me, Jehovah. Come on.
I don't think. I want to say
yes. Right now. I
did see that comment, but I want to say I don't think Tony is actually a JW, because I think I've seen him in the groups. So this might be a slight troll on his behalf. So here it is. Here, bring it on, Tony. Bring it on. We're ready for Armageddon.
Destroy you guys. Armageddon.
We've already been through Armageddon 5 times at least anyway, so we're prepared.
Yeah.
Hi, Martin. Martin is joining us from the UK.
Right, yeah.
And let's see here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to you all. Thank you for all joining us from YouTube and from Facebook. Alvin says our show looks professional. Thank you.
Wow.
We are constantly trying to improve, so we'll take that compliment today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, for joining us. You are a new face. Thank you so much for joining us. Lester says good afternoon.
Hi, Lester. I see Heather Gilbert.
Hi, Sam.
Today. Hi, everyone.
Wow. All right, so I can't get to all the highs, so we're just gonna do a collective hey, everybody. So I just want to let you know that we're not ignoring rather your comments. We're gonna, I see some of the questions here. If you have any questions for our guests right now, you can go ahead and join us on the stream, or you can comment in the comments below. They're sharing, you guys. Woo woo! Hey, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Thanks for joining us. All right. Okay, so now that we have finished the shout out section of the glass table, let's go on. And we have also another special guest joining us today. We have Kim and Mikey. So Stacey, you can hang out with us as long as you can. I know you do have to run, but hang out as long as you can. And so in case, okay, great. So if you have questions for Stacey, she's going to be backstage, and we'll bring her on, and she can address them personally. Okay. So we're going to say bye for Stacey for now. Bye, Stacey. So we have another special guest, Kim and Mikey. Kim and Mikey. Let's see if we got you on here. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
We made it, y'all, through the technical difficulties, through the sound. We are here.
Hello, everybody.
Live and living color.
Hey.
My face looks a little reddish because I got one hell of a sunburn last week at work.
Oh, wow.
My lips are all chapped and split and everything else. So
You look good. And Kim, don't get me, but Mikey looks good. He looks fine. He looks
Yes, he does. Sunburn and all.
look, you got one rooster with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hens. Man, I'm living the dream.
Mikey uncensored. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Exactly.
right. This is a live show. Hey, we keep it real here. So you are at home.
Yeah.
You are at home.
Cool.
So you guys, we are so excited to have you here. We got to share some of our Kim and Mikey stories behind stage because everybody has had an encounter, an intersection, have seen Kim and Mikey videos. So we thank you so much for thinking about the Little Old Glass Table podcast today and coming and joining us. So why don't you a lot of people joining us today may not know your ex-Jehovah Witness story. So can you give us a little bit about how you left? I know your disfellowship story because I've watched your videos, but I don't know if you want to give us like a brief background. Okay, Mikey.
Oh, okay. I guess.
Okay.
Well, see, that's why Kim and I work so good together, because when I start telling an untruth or something that I've, put in the wrong timeline of the sequence, she'll correct me. For Kim and I, we've always had issues with elders. Like every male, we always strive to become, ministerial servant, regular pioneer, an elder, and circuit overseer. When I was reaching out to be a ministerial servant, I began to see a lot of politicking in the congregations. And it really began to make me think and question what this organization was truly all about. And I had an opportunity when I was out in service as a regular pioneer with a circuit overseer. And I asked him, what do I need to do to reach out even further to become a circuit overseer? And his reply floored me. You would think the circuit overseer would say, learn everything you can about the Bible, learn all about Jehovah, how to, comfort people and things like this. His answer was, learn everything you can about the organization. And I was like, just dumbfounded, because I didn't expect that at all. That really got my wheels and my mind spinning. And there was a lot of things that I observed.
We had a lot of the puzzle pieces, but we didn't have the picture to put it together until October of 2012.
Yes. And, one of the things that I struggled with being a Jehovah Witness, and especially being a pioneer and a ministerial servant at the time, was the whole concept of the Holy Spirit. I couldn't understand how the Holy Spirit could appoint these men, and then it takes an act of Congress to get them deleted, when I could obviously see that they themselves were not following the direction of the Watchtower Society. So we did a lot of study, a lot of research. Granted, it was all within Watchtower literature. And we could see that even in the local congregations, the elders were not following even the directives that, the governing body was placing in the Watchtower magazines. So for a long time, we had questions, and a lot of it had to do with behavioral problems of elders.
The abuse of elders?
Yeah.
Being the victims of a lot of abuse from elders.
Yeah, we were just victims of witch hunt after witch hunt after witch hunt. And it's like, and it was just interesting to watch, because every time body of elders came after us, and me in particular, I'd always have a Watchtower article to kind of like shut them down. So they didn't know what to do with me, because every time we had a problem, here's Mikey with a Watchtower magazine. And if we speak against the Watchtower, then we're speaking against God. No, excuse me. I meant speaking against the organization. So these things weighed heavily on our minds for a long time. And it wasn't until a dear friend, well, in the meantime, we had moved to a different state, saw the same behavioral pattern from local elders. It was just, to say it was a nightmare would be putting it lightly, because my desire is to help people to become more than what they are. And even as JWs, my whole thought process was climbing the corporate ladder and being in a better position to help people. And that was never achieved, obviously. So I ended up inviting a JW friend to come out here and visit us once we moved from Wisconsin to our local place here in New Mexico. And this JW accepted the invitation. Now, I say JW because at the time I didn't know that he was an EXJW. Yeah. Didn't have a clue. So this dear friend came over. We'd known each other for decades, and I was explaining some of the issues with elders and some of our experiences and things like this.
He even said Jehovah's Witnesses are the most deluded people on the planet.
Yeah.
As a JW, he's saying this.
Yeah, I even said that. And so he took that as an opening to utter the next words. And his next words would floor anybody. He says, well, I actually believe that Jesus died on a cross and not on a stake. And I said, what?
But we knew this guy since 1986 and his whole family, and spent a lot of time with the whole family. So, we weren't going to kick him out of our house.
No, I just wasn't going to do that. But I had a lot of respect for this person. So I thought, well, let me hear what you have to say at least, because there again, I was already having problems with elders and things like this. So I'll at least give him the benefit of the doubt. He said, go get your reasoning book and look at that quotation under the cross that is taken from the Imperial Bible Dictionary. So I got it. Then I read it. He says, now, you ever wondered what those dots were? The ellipsis. And it's like, well, not really. So he suggested go online, go to openlibrary.org and get the entire quote from the Imperial Bible Dictionary. And that was the puzzle piece. That put it all together right there, because I saw for the first time that Watchtower manufactured a lie.
Right that minute, right in front of him and Mikey. Yeah. Mikey and I looked at one another and said, we're going to get disfellowship for this. Yeah. So, it was just that instant.
Because see, at that point, with the problems we had within the congregation, we knew we weren't going to keep our mouths shut. We just knew that.
We're not that type of people.
No. So, like all of you and like all of the Waking Up JWs today, we took the time to study and research, and we found one manufactured lie after another.
And I was going to say, we were disfellowshipped in. I just wanted to mention how we ended up with a copy of the Imperial Bible Dictionary. When we first started doing videos in October of 2013, someone contacted us and said, can I send you an Imperial Bible Dictionary? And she did. And we've been friends ever since.
Yes. Jane Doe. And I know she's watching, so hello. Yeah, and now it's like, oh my goodness, I've got a hard copy of that Imperial Bible Dictionary. So from there, we actually shut down our personal business for a year and devoted an entire year to study and research. So even before Kim and I decided to do our first YouTube video, we had already had a year's worth of research underneath our belt, so that we never stopped. Yeah, and we haven't stopped then. And the one thing that Kim and I saw at the time when we was watching ex-Jehovah Witness videos is that we personally did see a lot of anger. We saw a lot of, just a lot of different type of personalities. But the one thing that we did not see was anybody mocking Watchtower. Nobody was mocking the bullshit. So, Kim and I, that's how we pretty much started. You know what?
That's what we're like anyway. So.
Yeah, let's just mock the living crap out of this and see what happens. And here we are today.
7 years later.
Hello.
That's great.
Okay.
I'm in it now. I'm in it live. Shit. Right.
Can you put it to where we can see all of you?
There
All
we go.
right.
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking
Sorry,
to
guys.
myself all this time.
No, you're fine. I'm always doing 1,000 things.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So I'm looking at the comments here. Everybody is really excited that you guys are here.
I just love me a good story, so I have been just like listening and nodding along and just enjoying
Yeah,
you telling
I'm
me.
in laughing in the background.
Right. You guys are right, really.
And I just want to say how great this podcast is. You guys are so professional. I mean, my goodness, there's not that many, glitches or anything. And the way you have this set up is so professional. I mean, this is awesome.
Thank you so much. As you say that we're so professional, I'm taking a drink here. Like,
Well, the whole long and short of it is that once we had this year of research under our belts, I had to go to Arizona for a mountain man rendezvous because that's how we made some of our income. And I decided I was going to have dinner with my mother. And I brought my New World Translation, and I had a few little notes that I had tucked into the leaf side of it. And I thought that I was going to be able to, because I was really, really prepared to do the 607 thing and just show that it was just the wrong dates and Watchtower was wrong.
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. So as we're preparing to have dinner, now keep in mind, my mother, before she became a JW, she used to read tarot cards. And she never had any training, she would just make stuff up. And it appeared like it all came true. So it
sounds like the governing body.
Yeah, exactly. Right, make stuff up on the fly. And over the years, now that Kim and I reflect back on that, we could see that my mother's behavior pattern would indicate that if you believed in spirits, that she had a demon attached to her. Because like when we would get together as a family and just play regular playing cards, she hated playing regular playing cards. And Kim asked her one day why. And my mother says, well, I can still see patterns in the cards. Now, here's a fully indoctrinated JW woman not wanting to play regular, playing cards because she can still see patterns in the cards. Something should have clicked back then, but it didn't. So anyhow, we sit down for dinner and my mother asked me if I would mind saying a prayer.
Now, mind you, we hadn't said anything to anybody at this point.
No, nobody knew nothing. So I said, well, of course I wouldn't mind. Why would you ask that? And out of the blue, she says, well, I don't know. I don't even know if you pray anymore. And it's like, where in the hell did that come from? Because she had not a clue. So I said, I'd love to say prayer, but you have to understand, I won't use the name Jehovah because I discovered it's a Catholic invented name. And she said, nope, you say your own prayer. And my head went down. And there again, I don't know if anybody believes in spirits, whether it was just my reaction to my mother, I don't know. But for the first time in my life, I could not physically utter a prayer to myself. I mean, I could physically feel a blockage right there at my mother's table. And that indicated to me that there was a serious, serious problem, even in my own mother's life.
I think there was an evil presence there. because of dealing with her in the past and looking back in the past.
Archon, whatever. And it was at that time that when I got back that I started doing even more in-depth research into the occult, if you will, and some of the things that are connected with that, so I could have a better understanding of what, you know, whether you believe in them or not, the JWs do. And the JWs live on that fear that they're inculcated with regarding the occult and things like that. So don't be afraid to study and research this stuff, because all it does is it just gives you better ammunition to deal with them. And it does help. It really does help. So after that, I'll let you finish the story, because that's when all hell broke loose for us.
Oh, so he said he was going to his mountain man thing. Okay, now when he goes to these, there is no internet, there is no phones, there's nothing. It's a bunch of guys out in the middle of nowhere camping and living like they did back in the mid 1800s. All hell broke loose. We got unfriended on Facebook. My daughter was getting emails and phone calls and messages through Facebook of like, well, since you're so close to your parents, we're going to assume you've gone apostate too. And, you know, my daughter Shyla and I are like, what is going on? Because we didn't even know what had happened in Arizona, because he didn't call me and tell me. So apparently we did find out later that his mom immediately started calling everybody, even her elders. And it's funny because he had had dinner with a JW friend of ours in Cottonwood the night before. And that poor guy got accused of being the apostate and talking to him. So they went on a witch hunt after that poor guy. And he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, because I hadn't said anything to him, because I didn't know how he was going to react to me, you know, knowing what I knew at that time. So it's like, no, this is just a dinner between longtime friends. And that's all it was. But boy, my mother, boy, she took that and she just drove it right into the ground.
Yeah. So all of us were immediately marked as apostates. Nobody even asked us. Nobody even asked me what I believed or anything, just automatic. My daughter and everybody just, I mean, it was just unbelievable how fast. You think the COVID is spreading fast. Yeah. This spread fast.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the long and the short of it. You know, after I get back here, we kind of like, well, let's just do some YouTube videos. You know, now that my mother is trying to, you know, get us disfellowshipped and all that stuff, I've got nothing to lose now.
Wow.
So we just went full board, and they disfellowshipped us on September 18th, which was a few days after our wedding anniversary. And it's interesting because we got a certified letter from him, and he was going deer hunting. He says, there's no way, you know, I can be in town. And I didn't want to go by myself. So we contacted our elders and said, look, he's going to be out of town. And they sent us a letter and said, well, we can appreciate that everybody's busy, but this is the date of your hearing. And it was, I think, on the 18th, like a week later. So they only moved it a week later. He was going to be gone till after October 1st. So we actually had a lawyer send Watchtower and our body of elders a cease and desist for harassment, because here in the state of New Mexico, anything they do like that is against the law.
Wow.
And so, you know, we got the letter back, and JW Struggle YouTube channel, he covered all of that. You know, the name of the videos, how to disfellowship two people with zero proof, because it was all done on hearsay. The elders showed up here when I was home alone and he was at work, and they started questioning me.
Wow. See, they wrong for that.
Yeah. And I have to back up a little bit. In May, they showed up unannounced and questioned us. And they asked, you know, well, why would you show your brother? Because he had showed his brother some subliminal images when he was in Arizona. His brother is not a witness, but his brother told the mom. So they got back to the elders and they're like, well, why would you use the literature in a negative way? And he says, look, I'm not the one that put the, in the literature.
Right.
He's not the one that's on the songbook. So
yeah, I didn't do that either.
Right.
So, we went through this whole thing. And so since we didn't show up for our judicial hearing, it was all done on hearsay. And so we were disfellowshipped and we were tickled pink. We just started doing videos.
Well, what was interesting, just at the very end there, the elders that called the house wanting me to get into a 3-way conversation with them. And so I picked up the phone and they just started, talking their normal nonsense that they were going to talk. And I says, well, just hold on right there, guys. I says, since you came into my house and you had a spiritual conversation with my wife
and questioned me
and questioned her without my knowledge and without my being there, you brothers usurped my headship. This conversation is over. And I hung the phone up on him.
Well, that's how that goes when you're married. I mean, my husband, we didn't have it to the degree that you guys, but we had a very similar situation, and they will overstep. This is the rule that they put in place because talking to me is, you can talk to me if you want to, but since they are insistent that things are supposed to go a certain way, then you have to hold them accountable to their own rules as to how, a woman is supposed to be spoken to in the home, whether in the presence of her husband or not.
Yeah. And I didn't give him anything. I just said, look, this is hearsay. Why don't you go after his mother for slander? Because I said, we're being shunned and we've done nothing.
We've done nothing wrong.
So that's all I kept saying. And they finally got tired of that after about half an hour. But you mentioned the rules, and I just wanted to mention real quick that the unreluctant EXJW just did a tweet this morning about the Elders Manual here, a quote from it in the introduction, point 4, about halfway down that point. It says, rather than making rigid rules for the congregation, rely on scriptural principles and direction from Jehovah's organization. So how can they disfellowship and go after us on a witch hunt on hearsay and then disfellowship us without even hearing what we have to say?
Well, not only that, how do they do that when they say, well, we don't make rigid rules? See, that the whole problem with this elders book is that the elders are told one thing and then they apply it differently to the rank and file.
Right.
And that's why they had a little bit of a problem with me, even though I did not have an elders book because my dad was an elder. I was aware that book existed. Now, what my dad had told me about the book was that, well, there's nothing in this book that's not in the magazines. They just made it more convenient to find it. So knowing what my dad had told me, being that elder, I knew that if I had any problems with elders, I better be looking at these books because that's where the answer is going to be. And that's been Kim and I's, life, or that's what saved us multiple times, when I had these issues with elders. So I knew the book existed, but because my dad, and I don't want to, assign anything negative to my dad, because my dad, he wasn't an elder, but maybe 6, 7, 8 months before he finally passed due to lung cancer. So he wasn't an elder all that long. And in fact, he was actually an elder in training, even up until the point where he passed. So he didn't have years and decades of listening to the bullshit and trying to cover up the bullshit either.
Right.
And since he was a lot like Mike's a lot like his dad, I always tell him, I think your dad would have woken up. I honestly, if he would have had to been on one of these child abuse cases, I think his dad would have said, whoa, guys. And I think his dad would have called the authorities. I really do.
Well, I'll give you guys an example here. Through the grapevine, I have heard that there was an incident in one of our previous congregations that a male, JW, committed adultery. And the adultery was confessed to the presiding overseer, and the presiding overseer said that he would take care of it. And years later, the issue came up, and I shouldn't say years later, but within a few months, the issue came up in front of my dad. And my dad said, wait, what? How come the rest of the body wasn't told of this? So my dad held that body of elders to their feet regarding hiding from the rest of the body an incident of marital infidelity. So that's why I strongly suspect that if my dad was fully aware of the child abuse that Watchtower was hiding, I think my dad would have woken up and probably been in the same position than I am now.
I noticed Karen here in the comments. She said that she is a medium and had a near-death experience while she was a witness, and she thought it was demon possession. And that's the thing, is JWs think this is evil, that it's all bad. But when you leave, you find out, you know, just like people, there's good and there's bad. Just like these spirits, there's good and there's bad. And ever since leaving, you know, I've looked and investigated a lot of this. But I do know, just being around his mom, I do feel an evil presence.
So do I. So do I.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know there is good, and you know, it's all about energy and frequency and tapping into the universe. And I know I don't go a lot into our videos, but I am a firm believer in what you're putting out into the universe. That is what you're going to get back.
Well, you know, you'll probably have a few people disagree with this, and you'll have probably a lot of people agree with it. But if you're ever having a really bad day, just when, you know, the world seems to come crashing down around you, one of the best things you can do is take off your shoes and go for a walk in the grass, on the ground. And because we are allegedly made from this earth, we have a connection to it. And whether you like the phrase or not, don't really care. Mother Earth will take care of us. And one of the things that you need to do when you're feeling, you know, I don't know the word I'm looking, disjointed,
stressed out,
is to connect yourself to the earth and release all of that negative energy, because there is positive and negative energy. If you don't believe me, get 2 magnets and you'll see that you have opposite poles pushing and or attracting. So there is that energy there. And we have a certain amount of energy built within us. So when you're feeling stressed and you need to let it all out, take your shoes off and walk barefooted. Maybe do some gardening, get your hands in that dirt, and you'll find that negative energy does release.
Well, in fact, we were just watching a video this morning while we were eating breakfast, and there is a neuro specialist. And, you know, they've always showed like the sensors where they put like this cap on people's brains with all these wires and stuff, and they can like map your brain and your electrical signals and stuff. Now they have a new apparatus. I forget what it's called. It's magnetic something. They don't even have to put these near your head. They can put it out here. And he says, this proves that our thoughts, our energy, these electrical pulses do not stay in our head. They are released out. So what does that tell us? We're just antennas.
That's crazy.
So enough about us. I'm sure you didn't expect us to do as much talking as we're doing here. So
you are fine. We are so happy to have you and Stacey here.
Actually,
that is why you're here.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I left it in the comment section, but I will say it now too, that last year I went kart crashing, and I ran into two women at the kart, and I was like, well, I'm gonna test a little something, and just mention the shepherd's book. I actually brought it up on my phone and showed them, and they were like, that can't be, because it does say that it comes from battle, but then the stamp says that it's from South Korea, so that can't be JW material. But you can come to our meeting tomorrow and talk to our elder about it, because we see that it seems to be distressing you. Now, what they didn't know, that each and every question of mine was like a spearhead. And I did not say I'm an apostate. I said, I met some witnesses the other day. I got intrigued, so I Googled, I found this. What the hell, guys? So I was like, I'm not going to say I'm an apostate. I'm not going to say I'm an EXJW because they are going to be like, stay away, Satan. They are going to like shut down, leave, all that. Like they were already dicey with me when I started mentioning CSA and stuff. So I was like, I'm not trying my luck with that. And the next day I met with the elder and he was like all kinds of flustered about me having read that book. And it was like, well, all of this is in the Watchtower literature that we distribute, and this is not distributed to the whole congregation because it's sensitive matters and only like spiritually strong people can handle it and all that. And I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say, and it's crazy to me because I read that book and I read your material. I was a JW. I grew up a JW. I know what's in your material, and you changed your material. I left like 9 years ago this year, and I'm looking at the new material like, huh? Like, y'all are not the same stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I know it. In fact, I had an email from a PMO this morning, and I'm not going to mention who he is, but he is in the ASL group, and they are getting the Zoom, because they're getting the ASL meeting zoomed in to them, just like the JWs are getting the stream. And he was on Zoom. Now we know Zoom is getting hacked, and they're putting all kinds of stuff in, and there's hackers all over the place. I've heard it's one of the easiest places to hack. But this PMO, he contacted an elder concerned because when they sign into the Zoom to get the meetings, they have to use their full name. And he only used his first name. And an elder got onto him and said, you have to use your full name. And he doesn't want to because he's concerned that if Zoom is hacked by these people putting in like porn and, videos and all of this, that they will find out who he is. And I told him, I said, this is an incredible violation of the GDPR with people's personal data, especially there in Europe, where they're really strict with this.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if I was a JW having to sign into Zoom, I wouldn't use my real name.
No.
No.
Because they made them sign forms, was it not last year, the year before, where they had to agree that they could use the data and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
I don't know. It just always seems suspicious that they're always after data of who they are, and yeah.
And in reality, you've got to step back a little bit and ask, who are they really collecting it for?
Mm.
That's the question, because we were in, number one, with technology, when I was in anyway, technology was forbidden almost. I mean, it was like a taboo thing. You cannot have the iPads and all these, like every Jehovah Witness is like, it's part of their uniform now to have a tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before that, now it seems like, to go to your point, there's just signing their rights away. Because my whole thing is that, and you guys can correct me because I'm still working through your video about the Shepherd of Flock book. And I think it seemed like the language was kind of legalese, saying that publishers are no longer members or something like that. But it also said something kind of weird in this app video that I saw, that maybe publishers could also, they have to like surrender their data and all of this other kind of stuff too. And I'm thinking like, okay, why is this what usually when you sign up for app agreements, you have, terms and conditions and licenses and stuff like that, and you have to sign up and agree to them. Why is becoming a member of a church also signing away your data rights? I mean, that don't like one doesn't even go with the other. Like if I was joining a gym and they said, okay, and also we have the right to give away your, information. It's like, okay, well, why would I join this gym? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And, even on jw.org, when you go to start a publisher account, which they're wanting everybody to do now, it even says, if you read the fine print, if you are a minor under 18, your adult parent or guardian has to be right there and help you with it. So they need this permission. So, I mean, it's just a big legalese mess. How do you collect all this data and have them sign up for accounts and still go by the GDPR, grabbing all of this data? So every JW who signs up this account, they have this disclaimer and they have to okay it.
Right. And the thing of the matter is membership, if you're watching, because I know Jehovah Witnesses always be watching our
oh yeah,
y'all out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're watching and you're not, because we have non-Jehovah Witnesses that peek in every now and again. Membership in the Jehovah's Witnesses is not only vital to them believing that they will be saved and they won't be killed by fireballs in an impending doom or Armageddon. They don't have a choice to say, like with apps, no, I don't agree with the data thing, so I don't want to do that. They actually believe that it's one and the same. I mean, they don't have a choice to say, no, I don't want to agree with my information being shared, because it's time now with membership in their church or Kingdom Hall, as they say. So membership in the Kingdom Hall also means giving away all your information, people.
Yeah. And that Heather Gilbert comment that is up right now. Oh yeah, I love jw.org. I'm glad they have it because I get more information there and videos there than anywhere else.
It's a great source.
Oh yeah. I'm glad they have it there.
I just wanted to reminisce about my childhood as a JW. It was very funny that we were barely allowed to turn on the computer and stuff, and now they are like, let me find it on my tablet for you. Let me find it on your on my tablet, or give me your phone number. And I'm like, really now? Is that what you want? Like, is this how you are dealing now? Like, whoa there.
All right, so you guys, we have entered the part of the stream where we are now taking question and answers for our guests. And we did say in the beginning of the stream that we have Stacey here, but we're not going to have her for long. So Stacey, did you have any final thoughts or anything you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, so kind of in line about what you are talking about, it wasn't that long ago when Jehovah's Witnesses were not allowed to use, or it was extremely frowned upon to use social media. And I remember very clearly when I was checking YouTube answers for something completely non-related to JW stuff, and I was a JW, very, very devout. I happened to come across a comment of this lady saying that she used to be a JW and she's not anymore, and she's so glad that she got out, and it was a terrible experience. And I only got that far before I just my heart started to race, beat out of my chest, and I turned my phone off, started praying. It was a terrifying feeling. So even though sometimes I can be a little, I want to maybe abrasive with my activism when it comes to certain particularly elders, I do have a little bit of empathy for ones at the cards and whatnot, because it is terrifying, and they probably will close their ears and not want to hear what you're saying. But when they do wake up, which will be on their own terms, they're going to remember you. And so even though I don't remember any specific thing about this lady, what she said, and that on Yahoo answers. This was like 2000 and I don't know 6 or 7. It stuck with me, and I still remember it. Like it will stick with them. So even if they block it out, and like, so for anyone out there who wants to do activism, who wants to start speaking out, don't be discouraged. Like you said, you've got JWs coming on, you got non-JWs coming on, and they're like, this is pointless. It's not. It's never pointless. There's always somebody who's going to remember what you've done. Even if they don't remember the message, they remember that, something was wrong and someone was speaking out. So
that's exactly why
I
I
do
want
have to go.
Special.
Thank y'all so much for having me on.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Stacey, for joining us. Thank you for telling your story and giving us activism
Yes,
tips
thank y'all. It was
for
so
all the
great.
newbies. Come back.
Yes,
It's
definitely
so good to
come
see
back
y'all. Bye,
sometime.
Mike and Kim, and bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
See,
Okay, I will. Thanks.
you know,
Stay
and
safe.
I mean,
it's-
that's exactly why I want to go to Vessel, because I know it's only the JWs taking those free tours. Like, no normal, like, worldly person is gonna be like, of course, that's tour Vessel. So I'm like, you know what? I actually want to do that. And just bother them about the child sexual abuse and about all that stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And I don't know how long it will take for them to throw me out. I don't know if they will.
Girl,
I
they
don't know if
quick.
they will
They
immediately
quick
just
now.
if John Cedars could make the whole tour and they didn't throw him out and even gave him a guided tour, hey, I'm sure you'll be welcome with open
I
arms.
mean,
Right.
I don't recommend going into an assembly by yourself, because when I did it, an elder literally picked me up off my feet and carried me into the parlor.
I wish they would touch me, PJ.
Yeah.
I wish they would touch me, because I would go ballistic. Like putting your hands on me.
Yep.
They're
Oh my
not
gosh.
afraid to touch women if you go in
I
there.
mean,
Okay,
another
well
thing
then
is,
they're not afraid to catch these balls in.
yeah, I mean, another thing is that Telltale also did go to war. No, is the like main battle at Warwick now? It is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. My brain still works. I have one functioning brain cell, y'all. That caused some campaign. Anyway, and he went there, and they were like, "Are you Owen Morgan?" And he's like that Mariah Carey video, like, "I don't know her." He's
Right.
like,
I love that gift.
and I'm like, he filmed the entire trip he took to battle, and there was another atheist activist with him who had no affiliation with Jehovah's Witnesses, and it and the whole video you can see Owen is like so out of his like mind. He's like keep chill, don't get made. You made it inside. All you need to do is just not get caught. And they were in the car, and the security guard was like, are you related to Owen Morgan? And he's like, no, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. These are my studies, and I'm just bringing them to battle, for the spiritual experience. And they bought it. He's like, and he made it. But people were like tailing them, like they were following him around battle, and it's like so creepy. Like, really? Is that what you're doing now? And I'm like, if you know his name, you know who he, like, it's impossible not to recognize the guy. He has a very like recognizable face, in my opinion. And you know his full official name, Owen Morgan, and you let him into battle. At that point, either you're an apostate and you're deliberately letting another apostate in, like, you're cool, or like, and that just proves Bethel actually watches apostate material. They just got exposed. Like, how can you be that daft if you know, like, if you recognize that's, oh shit, yeah, that's that guy. He's against us. You could be like, nee,
Well, look at Zolkin. He made it as far as the guardhouse there. They wouldn't even let him in to serve papers, legal papers on the governing body. Yeah. So they know who all of us are. And it's funny, back when we were talking about the JWs who are trolling our channels and then wake up later, it's so funny because we've actually had several people email us through the years and apologize for doing that. And I just get the biggest kick when I get one of those emails and they're like, you probably don't remember. I was posting under, such and such. And I was really mean to you guys and called you names and wished you were dead and that Jehovah would kill you. I'm awake now and I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Those are the best emails.
Yeah.
I can imagine because I'm in a lot of JW sites and obviously I'll try and plant some seeds and then I get the most abusive message. And then sometimes they come back to me and they're like, I'm sorry, I've looked into the research you've said, I shouldn't have but I think we are going to do a future show hopefully on them. Like some of the JWs, they're just so vile. Like they will just completely attack you.
Yeah. Well, they're actually programmed to do that. Think about how we were trained to handle things in the door-to-door work. We were trained to be more nice, yes, but we were always ready to defend our biblical views. Now imagine taking that to an ex-Jehovah Witness where Watchtower printed years ago, if it wasn't for the laws of the land, we'd have to stone apostates. So that facade that they use at the door to be these nice, well-dressed, Bible-toting Christians now becomes an absolute hate mechanism when it comes to ex-members.
And then, we've had quite the experience the past couple of years with, well, actually the past 7 years, with EXJWs that, for some reason just get offended by something you say or do, or you're friends with this person, or you said this in your video, or you believe this, or you don't believe that. And they just start attacking you and they just will not stop. And so, trying to deal with all of this behind the scenes, that's the hardest part of activism.
Yeah.
And I love it, when new activists start a YouTube channel, and it's so sad to see they don't last long. But those that keep doing activists, have my utmost respect because you have to grow a really thick skin and put up with a lot of BS behind the scenes. And on YouTube, because they will even do videos bashing you.
Yes.
And that's when I let it shine.
We just sit and laugh at them and mock them.
Yeah, just turn that mocking upon them. And it's like, hey, look, this is the way I look at it. Kim and I have gone after, like all of you have, we've all gone after a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yep.
Who the hell do you think you are, a little Bible bully? I mean, we're going after a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So
worldwide.
So for some little Bible bully to, clickbait us, who the hell are you?
And it's so funny because the latest is Mikey's evil because he's misused the King James in a disingenuous way.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I usually have an easy way to respond to that, is that I strive to go to hell in all religions. So, you know what? I'm fine. I'm cool. I'm chilling. If it's actually real, I still can say that I lived with my best conscience and that I actually considered, I considered these children first and women's safety and people's safety first over looking good and religion. And I actually, if you take a look at my YouTube channel and what I'm all about, I'm not just against the JWs because they are far from the worst or the biggest or the the shadiest, or however you want to call them. Like, they are not the worst out there. They are terrible. They are just vile. They are just reprehensive. But all in all, we need to keep in mind they are not the only one, and they are not the only ones out there who are doing, who are committing abuse, who are covering up child abuse, who are covering up domestic abuse in general, who are sitting on billions of money. Look at the Vatican. They are sitting on trillions upon trillions of dollars worth of art and money and gold and all that. And they are just sitting on it instead of donating it, using it for something actually useful like education. They use it to sit on.
And look at what they're doing now. I don't know if they're doing it in other countries, but here in the United States, all of these dioceses, Catholic dioceses, are filing bankruptcy so they don't have to pay for all of these child, abuse survivors. And it just infuriates me. And that's why, we don't just stick to Jehovah's Witnesses. We cover any beliefs. We're not anti-God, we're anti-religion. We actually do believe in a higher source. And I don't even like the name Christian because it's gotten such a bad incantation now. It's just such a bad label that the minute you say you're Christian, it's like, oh, one of those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird to me that people are like, and in my book, people misunderstand me when I say I'm an atheist. No, I'm an atheist in the way that I don't really care. Like, if God is proven to be true, I will be the first to admit it. Like, fuck, yeah, I was wrong. Okay, kudos. You proved it. Cool.
But see, that's kind of the same thought process I have, because we've all been indoctrinated to believe that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. This is God's handwritten letter to us. Then shouldn't we be able to read that letter for ourselves instead of having a minister dictate to us what that letter says, or to imply that we're all too stupid to figure that letter out for ourselves? That's the worst thing that anybody could do, is to tell you that this is God's written word for all of mankind. Oh, and by the way, if you don't believe it, you're going to go to hell. That's what some Christian groups say. Oh, by the way, if you don't believe it, you're not going to get into the new system of things. Oh, by the way. So every group uses that same control mechanism to control your lives, to control your minds, but ultimately it comes down to controlling your money. And that's what it is. It's all about control of the money.
Well, we even had someone talk to us on a phone conversation, and I remember this so plainly. It's been a few years, but I still remember it clear as day. And he's never been a JW, but he's in the community and he does videos. And he told me that he thinks it's his calling to educate the JWs and us EXJWs because we're so ignorant of the Bible.
Yeah.
That was an insult. That pissed me off more than anything.
Molly and I actually did a reaction video to an ex-Jehovah Witness Christian who made a video, we will not say his name here, that was calling out people that didn't have faith, but ex-Jehovah Witnesses specifically.
Yeah.
And if I could just say something about this, because a lot of the guys who follow the glass table and follow us individually, you might even know that, some of us are trolled because of our lack of non-belief. I know recently it's been a explosion with ex-Jehovah Witness Christians, and I'm keeping it real, y'all. Ex-Jehovah Witness Christians seem to employ the same mechanisms of shunning that y'all claim in these groups, that y'all so mad that the Watchtower is doing. Y'all in these groups, the Watchtower is shunning leads to suicide, shunning leads to suicide. Okay, all that protest is good and fine, but then on the flip side, you get mad because somebody explaining the Bible differently than you, or don't believe in the Bible the way you do, or don't believe in the Bible at all. Your mission should not be to other ex-Jehovah Witnesses. Go get the Jehovah Witnesses out the Watchtower. Leave us alone.
Exactly. And you wouldn't believe some of the hateful mean messages and videos that have been done against us. And I know all of you, same thing, no matter what you believe or don't believe, the same thing. It's like, why can't they just leave people alone? Let them believe what they want. And if we want to talk about something we found in the Bible or somewhere else, we are guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States to talk about that on our YouTube channel. So those other guys can go to hell. But I know what you mean about the shunning. Because even though we still believe in a higher source, you wouldn't believe how many Christian friends that used to call us all the time. We haven't heard from them in years.
Not only have you not heard from them, they will block you. And I'm just going to keep it real because some of y'all is probably even watching. But we are the glass table. They're all the way real and transparent. Some of y'all will even go out your way to block and even start rumors or even talk about people.
Yeah, and
and some of y'all on even some of the videos that be made against, well, y'all know videos be made against me, or in Kim and Mikey, y'all on those videos making clown comments. Yeah. Like we don't see y'all.
And that's unfortunately it's still the residual effect of being in a cult. And it takes some people longer to deprogram from that behavior pattern than it does others. I can remember when Kim and I first came out, we started posting on what was then JWN. Now it's JW JehovahWitnesses.com or whatever it is. What was interesting is because we got our daughter and our son-in-law out, we actually started posting as a family. And a lot of people started saying, wow, I can't believe you guys deprogrammed so quick. But what everybody didn't realize at that time is that we had been, poring over Watchtower literature for a year previous. And
other stuff.
Yeah. So we were already deprogramming and preparing ourselves to come into the EXJW community. And that's what a lot of the friends don't understand. We just didn't wake up and started posting our feelings and everything else. We already had a year's worth of study and research behind us. And even within that whole year, I read Crisis of Conscience. I read In Search of Christian Freedom. And that was a huge eye-opener because I don't know how many of you friends read In Search of Christian Freedom
by Raymond
Franz. But when I was reading that, that's when I started really beginning to realize that Jehovah did not protect his word because he allowed Watchtower to tamper with it. Now, it's interesting because when you read Raymond's book about that, he will blatantly point out where Watchtower has changed the words to fit their agenda. Now, why Raymond Franz never concluded for himself, this can't be God's word because Watchtower has tampered with it. I don't know whether he made that connection and he just didn't want to make it public for fear of some of the backlash. But you know what? I don't have a problem with that because this book is systematically being used to ruin lives, ruin families. And in my opinion, it's got to be dissected right down to the little tittle because this is the book that is being used to harm human society, and especially in the Christian society.
And it's not just the Judeo-Christian Bible, like we've mentioned in some of our other videos. It's the Jewish Talmud, all their writings, the Torah, the Quran, and most of these cults will make their own Bible. They will have their own Bible and use it to agenda. Like the Mormons Bible. Yeah, the Mormon Bible, it has the Book of Mormon right in it. It's, put together in the same book. So, they all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trent.
Yes. It's a really difficult thing because, like for Kim and I, and this is something that all of us struggle with, is this whole concept of God. Who and what is God? Do you have faith in God? Well, if you don't have faith in God, then, you're an atheist, yada, yada, yada. we've all heard that entire story, and we've actually lived it for most of our lives, right? So when you come out of a cult, one of the first things that you want to do is you either have to jump into another religion so that you can automatically be saved, because once you leave the saving foundation of Watchtower and realize it's all bullshit, well, what religion do I join now so that I can still be saved?
That is so true.
It weighs on everybody's mind. Now, do we have a Heavenly Father? Well, this is really interesting because I really wasn't going to do this, but if you guys don't mind, I'll do it right here.
Does he have a few minutes?
Go ahead, take the floor.
Okay.
And look, you have all the time you need.
I was going to put this in a video, but I guess I'll just do it here live.
Oh, a pretty video!
Wow.
I think most of you will agree with this statement, that every Christian will tell you that you are a child of God. We're all God's children. Is that a correct statement, or is that a lie?
That's a correct statement, sir.
Okay. Now, every Christian will use that statement in their own religion, in their own cult. So you can only be a true child of God if you're a Jehovah Witness. You can only be a true child of God if you are a Baptist. You can only be a true child of God if you're a Calvinist. Whatever Christian religion you belong to, they all use that same thing with the qualifier. Okay, now let me show this really plain and simple. For a long time on our videos, I have been saying, learn to claim your own sovereignty. Now, some Christians will do videos saying, well, see, Mike doesn't believe in Jesus as your savior because,
he thinks he's
making
God.
that statement, yada, yada, yada. It's like, no, you don't.
I've seen some of them videos, by the way. But anyway.
You're not connecting the dots.
Right.
Right now, I am going to use a situation in the world, and it's not the COVID virus. It's Prince Harry and Meghan. What did he just do? He just renounced all of his royal duties, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And he's moved out of the country and moved to Canada. Do you guys think, even though he's renounced his status, do you think that he needs a mediator to still get the Queen Mother, or do you think he still has direct access?
Grandmama?
What do you guys think? He still
has
has direct access, right?
Mm.
So in the Christian theology, if we are all God's children, do we not have direct access? And I'm going to qualify that. When Jesus taught us to pray, what did he say? Our Father who art in heaven. You have direct access. You don't need a mediator. But that's what religion has done to all of us. They have taken away our royal bloodline from our Father. Now, whether you believe in God or not, I really don't care. But the theology is in place. And that's what I'm going after. So when I say learn to claim your own sovereignty, learn to recognize our Father. You have that direct line without a mediator. Now, I know that's going to be hard.
Go ahead.
And I know that's going to be hard for many, many Christians to understand and begin to comprehend that, because, the Apostle Paul said, well, we have one mediator, one baptism, yada, yada, yada. But also reflect on what I said about Revelation chapter 2, how that Jesus Christ puts the Apostle Paul in the category as a false prophet.
So I would also like to say to what your point, Mikey, is that I read a book by an ex-Jehovah Witness psychologist or psychotherapist, Bonnie Zeman. If you're on the line, I'm very sorry if I got it wrong, the credentials. But she has several books for ex-Jehovah Witnesses. I found helpful the Shun's Survival Guide, but the one that I'm thinking of is Healing Through, I'm sorry, I'm getting the name wrong, Healing Through Something Handbook for Jehovah Witnesses or something like that. Yikes. I'll put it in the comments. But she says that it's really important, is something that Mikey actually said here, that you have to, and it's a mistake that I made, and that's why y'all coming after me so hard, because I identify as agnostic now. after adopting Christianity after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses. So one thing that she said that actually Mikey said is that you have to be very careful and not to quickly begin to adopt belief systems or begin to after you leave in the Jehovah's Witnesses, that you are now in a space where you are allowed to think freely. You are now allowed to think critically. And that was a mistake that I personally made. I quickly went to a church. I quickly tried to move up within the ranks, if you will, because y'all, church is a business. It's just like, it's almost equivalent to the Jehovah's Witnesses. There's a lot more freedom, but then there's not. So we'll talk about that maybe on another show. But at the same time, quickly trying to refill in the gap. Because one thing I think Kim and Mikey touched on in one of their videos is that when we have that mindset as Jehovah's Witnesses that there must be a true religion out there, that there must be something true out there, we begin searching. I went through Messianic Judaism. I went to like a Hebrew roots cult. I quickly moved to a Christian non-denominationalism before I was 3 months shy of enrolling in seminary school, before I took a second look at the Bible outside of the Jehovah's Witness Bible, which is very important because the Jehovah's Witness Bible is very much a cult Bible and not like the main Bibles that translations that Christians use. But when I even took a look at that, I started to have questions. So go ahead, Kim. Mikey. I'm sorry. I see both of your names here.
Oh, no. I just wanted to mention, that we have had a lot of one-on-one conversations, a lot of Skype talks with credentialed psychologists, therapists. These are professional therapists. And we've read a lot of books and we've watched a lot of YouTube videos from these, Dr. Ramani. She's one of our favorites, and she is a licensed psychotherapist. We have to remember that what these religions do, whether it's conscious or unconscious, is they take your self-conscience, the self-confidence.
Right.
They make you feel like nothing. They keep reminding you how much you are a sinner, and that no matter how good or no matter what you do, it's never good enough for God the Father. And they take away everything you are. They take away everything we are as a person, as an individual. And that's what we always try to combat.
You just flashed up a comment here from somebody that they're spiritual, but they're not religious. And people in cults have a hard time separating the two because religion is synonymous with being a spiritual person. I'm going to use another illustration because, when you leave the Bible, it's automatically assumed you've lost faith in God. Whoever you believe God is, I really don't care. But I'm going to explain how I view faith at this point in my life. Something could change, of course. If God comes down and taps me on the shoulder, I better damn well pay attention on that day. But,
I think people misunderstand that when I say I'm an atheist, I don't mean I'm against belief and faith. I think belief, spiritualism, and faith is all good. Like, if you find a belief system that actually works for you and strengthens you and makes you a better person, amen, do it. But you see, the thing is, you must also consider the fact that I found the belief system or lack of belief that works for me and makes me a better person.
Right.
And you don't have a right to come to me unannounced, uninvited, and without knowing me and start preaching at me. I don't do that to you. I don't go to you and shove the books that have make me an atheist down your throat. So you cannot come unannounced on my Facebook page, unannounced on my Twitter, on my YouTube channel, on my emails, in my messages, on my door, knocking on my door, trying to cram it down my throat. And people don't understand that religion and faith are not the same things.
Right.
Like, religion is organized, man-made bullshit for money. Like, what else would you call it when in medieval Europe they were selling tickets to heavenly forgiveness for money?
For money, exactly.
What else can you call it?
The Pope was selling forgiveness.
Yeah. So, but faith is a completely personal, intimate, private matter that I respect and I hold dearly. If you say, I'm a Christian and I believe in this and that, but you're not being like, and you need to too, and you're nothing if you don't, I'm good with you. I have Christian friends, I have Christian YouTubers that I like because their content is good, even though I disagree with the fact that they keep dragging God into the conversation, but the conversation is still awesome and quality. And for all the Christians who might feel like they are stuck in a fundamentalist loop or something like that, God is Grey is an amazing channel. She's actually she was like a fundamentalist, and she deprogrammed herself with like 10 to 15 years of research that she's sharing right now on her YouTube channel. So it's an awesome source of information on a more progressive, more, may I say, Jesus-like Christianity. That's actually about love.
If I could just interject for a second, and also it's almost a shameless plug. Molly and I have a new segment, show, whatever, live stream. It's called Ducking Religion. It's not ducking religion like we just mad at religion, but more of a program where we talk about harmful dogma and policies of lots of religious systems. So you'll get a lot of our thoughts and opinions on that. And Molly is really good with this. We're going to talk about that a lot next Tuesday. So anyway, we actually have a main program, you guys. Thank you so much for staying with us. And we are an hour and a half in our show.
Wow, that went by fast.
Didn't it go by fast? It's 6 people. If y'all can sit there and watch some of these activists, some of these other activists with larger platforms for 2 and 3 hours, y'all can stay here with us and chat with us. So what we're going to do, and we're hoping Kim and Mikey, because you guys have been around a lot longer than Spencer. Why am I saying my name? Molly and I. So you guys can fill in the blanks here. We have a presentation that we kind of put together, and we kind of combined forces here. So we're hoping that you guys enjoy it. So Emma and everybody else, let me know if you can see the screen that's coming up. Here we go. And again, we're moving through. Is this, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the first slide?
Yeah, that is it.
Okay, go ahead, Emma. Take it away.
So that was Watchtower Victims Memorial Day. So I think that was the second one that I'd done, which was the top 2 posters there. And then I put 2017 on here as well. I wish I'd have got better pictures, but yeah, I took better pictures in later years. But I literally put these on the fence of my local Kingdom Hall.
Alrighty.
And that was the Watchtower Victims Memorial Day 2018. And my friend Anthony helped me do these. He's not actually an ex-Jehovah's Witness. He's my next door neighbour. And I started talking to him about being an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he started to come and help me, and he helps me with my regular activism. And this year we decided to go out into our town as a castle. And it has the castle grounds where there's all like flowers and bits of field and stuff. So we actually took the posters down there that year. But after we put these on the Kingdom Hall, we went into the train station, came back 20 minutes later, and the posters had gone. So we were like, whoa, somebody was watching us, waiting, but it is like the fourth time I think I'd done it. So, and then the next slide shows that we waited a couple of hours, and I went back and put this poster back on the Kingdom Hall fence that said, "You really sat there waiting for these posters. Shame you're not so quick to act on child sex abuse. We're watching you too."
I love it, y'all. Look, Emma don't play. Don't come for Emma. And let me just, can I say something? Emma, you did a video about this, didn't you? Am I mistaken?
Not this one, no.
Oh, okay, because I thought I saw a video of you, or maybe you were talking about it in the groups about them just going and taking your stuff so quickly.
That's probably Sharing Shoes. That was this year.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay.
They take my posters down within 20 minutes. I swear they follow me. I don't know how they know.
Mhm.
All right, in this slide, I actually have a close-up of this newspaper here. This is Chessa's activism on display here. Let me see if I have a closer look at this newspaper here. And Chessa, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the slide.
Okay, so I kind of made slides. I'm terrible at PowerPoint. I learned it for the first time for this project specifically. But I was making slides and just, thank you, going through how things progressed. So basically, this was an article. It was a newspaper printed by the Philadelphia Inquirer by David Gambacorta, who is an investigative reporter. And I had been around the EXJW community, but when I left, I kind of took some time for me and just tried to sort some things out. But I ended up coming back in, and my father actually was really involved. Kim and Mikey, I've actually contacted you before. My dad was a huge fan of yours. He used to go to lunch with Barbara and Joe, and he loved watching John Cedars as well. So he kind of got me more interested in telling our story. I didn't feel like our story was significant enough, honestly, to be anything that would be featured or be useful. But this was the first time that I really felt that I had a voice, because I reached out to David Gambacorta after I'd spoken to Barbara Anderson for a while, and he was really interested in hearing about our story for our family, and he had already covered a bunch of amazing child sex abuse articles in the past, highlighting watchtowers and discrepancies. And so this was really my first dip into public activism. And I'm not sure if we're going to the next slide about the ROTC protest rally, but that was the next, yes. So after that article was released, I obviously, you know, we all connect with each other after we come out and have our debut or whatever. So I was talking to a lot of different activists. I got in touch with Sharon Tyson, Emma. I was watching you. I was also watching Stacey, a huge fan of that. So I was trying to connect with everybody. And I got contacted by Pam, who is the secretary for Mark Rotzi's office. And she told me about a sex abuse survivor rally that was happening in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And Barbara had kind of talked to him too, I guess. So they asked if I could make the trip. And it was very spontaneous. But I ended up being able to go, and it was amazing. And that was the first time that I met a bunch of people in that middle photo that were really interested in advancing policies to protect human rights. And it started blowing my mind. I started seeing ways that I could actually interact with the government or with my local community and actually have an impact. So that was really the catalyst that kept me going in activism, is feeling not only that I had a voice, but that also I could do something about it.
Very nice.
Oh, Spencer, I think you're on mute.
Oh, I was saying,
Yes.
go ahead. I'm like, go ahead, Chessa, go ahead, girl, but you couldn't hear me. But yeah, thank you so much, Chessa. And then our next slide here, Emma.
Okay, so this was 2018, and I can't remember it, and I'm not going to say if I can remember. Somebody messaged me and said, "Can you put my story out there? Abuse that happened to me." So I was like, okay. So then I put it online. And then I had more people come to me saying, "I've seen you put that abuse story out. Can you put mine out?" So then I printed some off and took them to the London protest with me and put them on a board that Louise had done a board with, like, child sex abuse and people's experiences. So I took them to London and pinned them all on that board.
Mm-hmm. I really want to do something similar in Hungary, like get the stories out, reach out to people, and help reform policy, because in Hungary there is basically no way in hell you're getting any information on child sex abuse, especially this pinpointed to an organization, because and I keep mentioning it, but it's important for all the people who watch us for the first time or stuff like that. In Hungary, the law is that it only counts as abuse if you need more than 8 days of hospital care to recover from the injuries. That's when they start prosecution.
That's bad.
Jeez.
That's horrible.
That's horrible.
And these were this was the first London protest I went to, and these were T-shirts that I made for Anthony at the top, my mate Draven, me, and then my dad. I've got to say thank you to my dad. He was never a JW. My mum chose the religion over him, and he has literally drove us twice now to London, which is about, for us, a 4-hour drive there and a 4-hour drive back. So yeah, I have to thank him for that. So next slide, if you're there. And this, I've literally got this banner behind me now. I dug it out of my wardrobe. That was the first banner I took to the London protest. And the funny story was, because we got lost at the big Excel building in the car park, we missed the prep talk. So we didn't realise we wasn't allowed to put banners up in this big Excel exhibition centre. So as we came up from the car park, I says, well, let's make the most of it. Let's put our banner up and walk through the arena. Now, this arena was ram-packed of JW, so to be in the dinner time. So children were going past, reading the banner out, and I got my dad in a wheelchair pushing him, and we got like 3/4 of the way through the arena, and the security guard come up to us and said, you've got to take your banners down in here. You're not allowed them inside the building. So he was like, oh, okay. So he says, right, but I'll direct you through the crowd anyway. So he made all like the JWs move out the way so I could wheel my dad through with his wheelchair. And then we got to the outside portion where everybody was standing, and we told them that we'd put the banner up, and they was like, oh, no way, I can't believe you did that. But we was unaware. So yeah, it was extra activism we got to do. That's my dad there in the left. And there's some posters. I think there was 100 people over the 2 weekends turned up to protest from 13 different countries. So it was great. And
don't tell us.
This poster had to feature this because I spoke to the lady whose daughter, who was 5, who made this poster, and it just says everything. People should love each other, even if they believe something different, and from a 5-year-old. And on the right, it shows that even at the protest in the car park, people took the opportunity to put posters in the cars, and yeah, where all the witnesses were also parked.
All right, well, we have entered, before we go to PJ, Emma, you have some clips that you want to show.
Oh, yes.
So let me get to those, and I'm going to show them, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about them. Before, do you want to tell us a little bit about the person that's in the clips?
Yeah, this was Louise, who helped organise the London protest, and I just thought she made some great points about why physical protesting at conventions do work.
All right, here we go.
Her story, all the newspaper articles up on a board, and somebody came up to her and just said to her face, you're lying, this is all lies. And she was saying, this is about me, these are newspaper articles about me, and Mark Sewell is in prison for 14 years, I'm not lying. And so then he said, oh well, how long ago was it? It was years ago, why can't you just get over it? Who knows who would be walking past and not being able to look, not being allowed to look, but secretly taking note and contacting us later, or Googling later, or looking up JW facts later. This protest was absolutely not a failure. It was absolutely a success.
I have one more clip here.
The audience for us was never really Jehovah's Witnesses. The audience was the wider public. Do you remember the Warwick protest? They weren't trying to get people in Bethel to come out and leave Bethel. It wasn't for the employees in the Warwick. It was for the publicity they got. And remember what publicity they got? They ended up on a Canadian documentary that got out to 33 million people. So I'm not saying we're going to have that success. I'd love to be able to promise it, but who knows? Who knows?
So yeah, she made some excellent points there, because I know a lot of people diss the physical activism that we do, but she made the point there, like, and I always say, it's not always for the JWs, it's for public awareness, and that's why I do most of my activism.
All right, Emma. All right, Emma.
Exactly. You know, just go along with that. We get so many emails and phone calls from people who never were JWs but are in other religions. Look at the Mormons, the LDS activists. Oh my goodness. We've gotten so many emails from them saying, thank you. Because of your videos, we're learning how to be activists against our own church, and they're starting their own ex-Mormon activists YouTube channels, and those against Baptists and Calvinists and Catholics. And we just love it because they're all getting the word out. And guess what? Every single one of these organizations tries to hide child abuse.
Yep.
They're all guilty of it. All of them.
I mean, I'm not sure if you you guys ever read the CES letter. That letter is basically a Mormon wrote a letter to the church, and he had like these questions, and he was like, if you can answer these, I will go back to the church. And he mailed it, and it's just such a great letter. And an ex-Mormon activist, Mr. Atheist, actually covered that letter. And we should do that. We should all cover our doubts and be open about it, because that way we can spread awareness to the public life and maybe JWs.
Yeah, right. We even did an interview with an ex-JW Mormon, John. It's on our channel.
An ex-JW?
Oh, I'm sorry, an ex-Mormon. An ex-Mormon. Yeah, and he was talking about what woke him up and why he left. And a lot of us didn't know that these bishops have I don't know if they've changed it yet or not, but have a one-on-one interrogation with kids, little kids as young as like 7 or 8, and asking them very explicit sexual questions.
Yeah.
Wow. The draft questions or something like that it's called.
I know, like with my judicial committee, and again, we can have a whole probably week of shows about judicial committees. But not only did they ask intimate questions, but they went far beyond intimate questions, because these were my peers as well as all my judicial committee. We had went out to lunch, and they were asking me intimate questions about, I won't get into it, but what kind of sex I like, how I liked it, when I liked it, where I liked it. It was just, so I can only imagine. And this is me as a 20-year-old. So I know that my other people in my relatives and my family had to go before judicial committees much younger. Yeah. And what do you need all of that information from a child for?
Yeah.
Why do you need that?
Briefly, I know it was still a Mormon thing last year, because I got involved in Protect Every Child, and that was started by a Mormon guy, Sam Young. And that was because he had a problem as well with the questions that were directed at his young daughter. So it seems like it is still a thing that they are fighting to get ruled out.
Thank you, Emma. I numbing out there. It wasn't John. It was Sam Young. We talked to Sam. Skype interview with him.
And that's one of the reasons why we interviewed him on our channel, so we can get more XJWs to actually see it
Yeah,
and share it.
but this was disturbing because a lot of these Mormon bishops were using that one-on-one time to, groom children, molest them, so many inappropriate things. And the church did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Same thing
You
with
know, there was a documentary about Mormon whistleblowers, if you will, because I don't know if they call them apostates, because Jehovah's Witness calls us apostates, but we'll just call them whistleblowers of the church. Heartbreaking stories of marriages that were almost child marriages in a lot of cases. Just, so these men are not just sick enough to just mess with one child. They have the nerve to go an extra mile because they have the plural marriage within. And let me clarify this, because I know that I do have a Mormon friends here, that I am talking about the fundamentalist church, the one that
the FLDS.
that broke off from the original church. I'm not talking about the other church, because they're quick to say that. So I'm not talking about that. But even still, in the name of the founder, because y'all all got the same founder, they are still practicing these things. And so whether or not, you guys associate with them or not, it's kind of a black eye, because they consider themselves just as Mormon as you are.
Exactly. Our daughter was friends with an FLDS ex-member.
Oh, yeah.
And the horror stories we heard. Oh, my God. She was raped at 12 or 13, if I remember correctly. And because she got pregnant, then she became this, abuser's wife. And he had all these women, and they could just go rape any young woman they wanted. And if they got pregnant, then they would become their wife. And it was a horrible life. And this poor woman is so messed up, and has such a difficult time.
Yeah.
And, just like inside of Watchtower, I'll tell you, I have never seen so much mental illness in my entire life. And the horror stories, oh my God. People keep telling me to write a book, and I keep saying, no, you don't. You don't.
And I just want to, another shameless plug. I don't know why I do this, but in the month of May, Molly is very taking a lead on this with us. Mental Health Awareness Month is in May.
Good.
And as Kim is saying here, like me, I'm very open on my Jehovah's Witness blog, that I was predisposed for mental health challenges. But some of this is exacerbated by some of the fundamentalist religions, but namely, the reason why we are all connected today and share a bond today is because of the Jehovah's Witness religion. Rigid rules and religions that exacerbates mental illness beyond a stretch of an imagination that you wouldn't. They can even say that almost half of congregations, this is just a poll, because they're really secret, so we do the best we can with polls, are either on antidepressants or something of that nature. And I truly believe that. I truly believe it with all of my heart, because there was more depressed pioneers in my congregation than I ever knew.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, go ahead. Go ahead, Molly.
Go ahead, Mom.
So it's crazy because I was a gloomy. I was a gloomy kid all my life. I was always a bit weird in the head. Like my mother would always say you're so stuck up, or you're so stuck in your ways, or you're so this, you're so that. And once I left the organization, at first I was extremely suicidal because I felt oh my God, I lost Jehovah, I will die, I am condemned to hell, I will not make it through. And no one understands, especially in Hungary. now it's better, but I was not 18 at the time, so I could not go to therapy without my mother finding out. So obviously I could not go to therapy because she wouldn't understand, she wouldn't pay for it, she wouldn't support it. So I was like, well, you have to make it through. And I actually had like 3 suicide attempts and 1 murder-suicide attempt where I attempted to make chlorine gas from basic chemicals at home. And I was like, well, it will take them out and me out, but at least it's all over. And this is what fundamentalism does. It messes up your mind, and still it's with me. Like, it looms over me and it flares up. And right now, with everything being locked up and everything looking this apocalyptic, it does not do, I think, any of us well. But us ex-fundamentalists, especially ex-apocalypse prepare fundamentalists, we are hit, I think, harder than most by it. I'm like a hermit crab. I don't barely ever go out. I'm like, nah, I like to stay in bed, just not see any human beings. Thank you very much. I actually like that. I like that. Like, I like just hanging out with the rabbits, not seeing any humans. I can go days without actually going out. But now it's like everywhere you go, you see people are scared. All you hear is this, like, death, destruction, financial upheaval, losing jobs, all that. And it's just like, oof, yeah, it's crazy. And it's affecting us badly. So everyone, just make sure you're staying in touch with your people, because you need each other. You have the internet, we have the internet. Reach out. Don't be alone. As much as we need to be as alone as we can, don't be. Like, use the internet. And if you're a JW, buy a VPN. Sacrifice those, like, I think it's $20 or something. Sacrifice those $20 and reach out to apostates you like. Like, not necessarily any of us if it's not your vibe, but if it's not,
if we're not your thing. There's a lot of other apostates, which we are going to feature our favorite activists very soon. So look out for that.
So like I say, we're the apostates you love to hate.
Oh no, you guys are nice people. I love you guys.
I just want to say really quickly, guys, I'm not being rude. As the Glass Table panel probably knows, I have a very crazy pug, and I don't want her to overpower what we're saying here, because that happens on the stream. And when I go back to the playback, I'm like, oh my God, this pug is just like a manic raving dog. So sorry about that. I mean, you got your babies, your bunnies. PJ has her cat. I have a pug that's just emotional and just, all over the place. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject with that. We do see you in the comments. Thank you. Keep commenting. And we also, if you have questions for Kim and Mikey, there is a link that we dropped in the comments. Go ahead and join us on the stream. You could come on the show, y'all. If you don't want to come on the show, you can also just drop comments in below or questions below, and Kim and Mikey is here to answer your questions. So we are going to.
You may not like the answers.
Yeah. If you got the questions, right, they got the answers. Like he said, you may not like them, but hey.
I just want to go back and touch on the point. Talked about, Jehovah's Witnesses being on happy pills. I just want to read something that we observed when we was in Wisconsin. Remember, there was a meeting one time where 2 elders were on their way to do a circuit assembly because they were giving an experience. So our congregation had the assembly the weekend before, but these 2 elders had to go 2 weekends in a row. So the rest of us were in our Sunday meeting, and there's a lot of movement going on. The phone rang, a lot of little disruption, and you could see some of the elders running back and forth. And whispers. Well, when the meeting was done, it was announced that one of those two elders were in a automobile accident, and one of them was killed.
Wow.
You could tell which JWs were on happy pills, because when that meeting was over, just to use a number, half of them were sad and crying, and the other half was still giddy and laughing.
Yeah, and not that we're saying there's anything wrong with happy pills, because many people do need them, but you could see how disjointed or disconnected the JWs were. And Mike mentioned that to his mom, and she totally vehemently disagreed. Well, then she got to talking in the field service group, and come to find out, more than half of them were on happy pills,
anti-anxiety pills and things like this. And what Kim and I have observed, being where we are and having a lot of XJWs contact us over the years, we could put into a book how many XJWs, when they wake up and leave Watchtower, the antidepressant and the anxiety pills get flushed right down the toilet, because they come to the realization that it's the organization that is driving us insane.
I will mention one thing. We've been talking to a lot of PMOs the past couple of weeks, and JWs are loving being able to stay home during this pandemic and getting the streaming. And many did not dress up for the memorial. They stayed in their pajamas and watched the memorial, but they're loving this. And they actually don't want to have to go back to the Kingdom Hall, get all dressed up and drive, 30, 40 miles to the Kingdom Hall. They want them to stay in online religion.
I mean, for me, it was the opposite, because when I left the organization, I finally turned 18 after a clusterfuck of suicide attempts and a bad streak of depression and anxiety. I was like, okay, no, we need therapy. I actually snuck out of school, went to a therapist, and she was like, well, first of all, you are missing sleep, so let's get you on a slight, I'm not sure how you call it. We call them like tranquilizers, like they make you calmer, and that I can sleep. And so I did that, and ever since then I still need that stuff to sleep, because I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy Maria, for joining us. We have another guest. Amy, can you hear us well? I'm sorry, guys. With the live stream, it's always technical issues with sound, whatever. I guess technologists. You're on mute, Amy. If you can take yourself off mute. I don't know if I can do it here. Let me see if I can try it. No, it won't let me do it. Okay, so Amy, when you take yourself off mute, there's a mute button right in the application that you're using. And then there you go.
Hi guys, sorry, I'm doing something. I'm multitasking. I have stuff all over my hands.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Amy. What brings you here? Kim and Mikey.
I just wanted to address, hi guys, it's so nice to finally talk to you. You were Kim and Mike, one of the first people I saw when I was waking up, and at first I was like, these they're crazy, and then I was like, they have more insight.
I have that effect on people.
Well, we're not used to seeing that much personality in the organization, I guess. They weren't.
Exactly
so
right.
I just appreciate you. I thank you. But I wanted to address, when you were talking about, taking the medication, a lot of people are under the belief that, as Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't really push therapy or believe in therapy or the medication. But behind the scenes, I found that my family, because I didn't get the help for the sexual abuse that I experienced as a child, and then the guilt that I felt knowing as an 18, 19-year-old that he hurt somebody else after me, it was like I was the only one that felt guilty, but my family did not know what to do. I was acting out. And instead of helping me, they doped me up. I mean, I was just on so many. So it is a kind of a, Jehovah's people have to be a happy people. So they can't say that they go to therapy, but they're you know, or taking pills. They shouldn't need them. And you feel like it's a weakness. But I felt like I was drugged because they didn't know what to do with me. I had barbaric medical treatments done that cost me my memory in some ways, and
so
just ridiculous. Well, the great thing about it is that I was on, when I left, I was on almost 9 medications: anxiety, sleep, antipsychotic, everything you can believe. Today it's after, so I was about out for a year. So after 2.5 years later, I am medication free. I have lost 80 pounds.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome.
I mean,
go girl.
It's just, I have a lot of support though. I know people, sometimes you need the medication to get through the dark time or help you out, and that's fine. And I'm definitely not saying that to go off your medication without, without a doctor's supervision, but I can attest to that. And the question I had to all of you guys as activists is, I had an EXJW life coach who very much believes in moving on and not holding on. And I expressed to him, I know when I was 11 years old, I prayed so hard to Jehovah, send somebody to help me, send somebody to save me, please send somebody to make this stop, make somebody find out all of this. And I told the life coach, every fiber of my being knows that there's little girls, little boys in there, women, everybody praying, help me. And I want to do something. I know this, I want to be an answer. And he told me basically, you know, that's where you feel important. That's what you're familiar with. That's where you feel comfortable. And that's really not going to do anything right now. That's your way of holding on. I mean, I felt a little discouraged by that, but I also want to be realistic. I don't want somebody to tell me things I want to hear. I want to hear the truth,
Yeah.
Well,
can I just say, go ahead.
I was just going to say, therapists, a lot of them have a hard time dealing with this because a lot of them do not know the life we led.
Right.
And, bless
this was an EXJW life coach that does seminars all over the country. I
firmly believe that nobody else can tell you when to move on and what your timeline should be. That's all I'm going to say about that, because the experts know more than I do. But I also know that everybody does this at their own pace, their own time.
Yeah.
You will know here.
And I just want to say, and Amy, thank you again for sharing your story and being so open with us on the glass table and trusting us, our platform, to be able to come on and share your story.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. And so I just want to say that I identify with you just recently in my Jehovah Witness blog. I'm opening up about my challenges with bipolar. And the thing of the matter is that when I look back over my life as a Jehovah Witness, I can actually see, how me being unmedicated attributed to a lot of the challenges that I faced within the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the fact, on top of the fact that they didn't really believe in psychotherapy. So I really honestly think, I'm so glad that you were even able to get the help, because I do understand the cycles of trying different medications and they don't work, and they work for a while, and then you got to start all over again. It can be devastating for someone who's taking medication all the time.
I've also found it when even though I was going to a lot of therapy, that's what my family's excuse was. Well, she's rebellious because she has mental issues, or she's depressed, and that's how we can explain it. It wasn't anything about there's circumstances that fed that, but I had such an attitude with the therapist when I went in there that I didn't use that tool to help me in any way, because my JW mentality was, oh, they don't have any of the answers. They don't know anything. And it was such a condescending, arrogant attitude for especially a woman being a Jehovah's Witness and being born in, because you don't have any self-esteem, or you feel like you're supposed to, your whole life is, how do I be humble? How am I going to, win people over without a word and all of this? But but as far as the outside world, just a very different attitude. I was very arrogant in my thinking with the therapist, like they couldn't pass. I have all the answers, really. There's nothing you can do to help me, really. And I wonder how many JWs go to therapy with that mentality.
Can I just say something really quickly? And then Chessa has something she wants to say. The Bonnie Siemens book that I actually talked about earlier, she actually has a handbook that you can actually give to therapists in advance. And I just want to say that it actually helped me, because I actually had a therapist. I went through so many therapists. I even had a therapist that would fall asleep. She was an older lady that would fall asleep on my stories about my cult stories. And
yeah,
that it really devastated me, because
you want to share the cult code for
it's therapists? Called the cult, the cracking the cult code for the handbook. And when I actually had a therapist who went out of her way to actually purchase the book just for me, just to deal with me. And I thought to myself, okay, well, this is somebody I need to hang on to. But in her book, it helps therapists help you as an ex-Jehovah Witness, because as Kim and Mikey was saying, it's really hard to be, in their videos, I'm sorry, I'm a fan. When you look at their videos, they talk about how, how challenging it is to find therapists who understand who we are, who our makeup is, and how we operate. And if they're not a cult expert, which is very few, rare in between, unless you can get somebody like Steve Hassan, which is hard to get somebody. It's a niche psychotherapy. It's really niche psychotherapy, cult survivor, having somebody who's cult survivor. So it's really hard to find. And then
I did learn that from Kim and Mikey. That they were the ones who really, because I just felt like these therapists, they don't have it was kind of, I felt like the same condescending attitude the elders gave me when I was a child, and the pat on the head, put it all in Jehovah's hands. It was that kind of same thing with the therapist. You're overreacting, or this shouldn't be affecting you how it is. But I do have suggestions for people or a suggestion. The cult, I found a therapist that was a private practice that accepted my insurance, and then I had just a little bit of a copay with it. But also, I did send that book to him first. I emailed him when I set up the appointment, said, this is the book. I can either send it to you, or here's the link to order it. Because we live in a really small rural area. There is no spiritual abuse or religious abuse therapist. There is no cult therapist. And you really need somebody that specializes that. And the therapist I went to told me, I have quite a few Jehovah's Witness people that I see. And this book has also helped me understand where their mentality, where they're coming from, the walls they have up, what their thinking is, and what they're really dealing with, which they're hesitant to tell him.
Right. Thank you so much. And Chessa, you said you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I love all the comments here, and I just wanted to add a few things. So just to jump into it, my first time was 8, and I had mental health problems my entire life. I was constantly suicidal when I was a Jehovah's Witness, even when I was pioneering, because I felt like I was martyring myself. I felt like I wasn't worthy, but I was going to be subservient and help other people, and that would make me worthy in some way. But I always had mental health problems when I was inside the organization. And so in my early 20s, it got bad enough, literally bad enough, that even the elders were okay with me going to a psychotherapist who prescribed me a bunch of medication. I was on 14 at one time, 14 a day. And it just wrecked me. It wrecked my body. It wrecked my mind. It was awful. And something that I've observed about that is that elders are against talk therapy, because they don't want you to really have a connection with or have a long conversation with the therapist. Yeah. Because what happens when you have a long conversation, they start to say, well, maybe your religion comes into play. And if you look at the wording in the society's articles, they even mention things like be cautious if your therapist starts going against your religion, because that means that they may be satanic or demonized. Yeah. And so for so many people who have bipolar disorder or who have compound PTSD like I do, you're unable to really get what you need, because what you need is to understand those layers and understand how you regulate and go through that with somebody, instead of just being fed medication. And now I'm on 2 medications, and it balances me out okay. But you know, I haven't had a suicidal thought in a very long time. When I was in the organization, even on 14 medications, it was really bad. So, you know,
well, the thing about that is,
Chessa,
too, is as far as the medication, some people have to understand that. We talked to a clinical psychologist. He told me, this is literally, you've been on it for so long, this has changed the chemistry of your brain. You might need some of these. So if your goal is to, you know, be medicine free, why are you thinking that way? You don't have to think that you're flawed if you are. He's like, this has changed some of your input and output of your chemicals. So you might need something to assist you. And that's the sad fact of it. You know, it's sad, but it's nothing to carry any, you know, shame about. I hesitate sometimes telling some of the EXJW community that about not being on any medication. Number one, I don't want them to do anything, you know, dangerous. And number two, I don't want them to think that it's I'm just happy that it justifies and kind of validates me, because they were trying to mute me. They did it. But I have a recording of my mom when I asked her why didn't anybody go to the police? Why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't my family? And her exact words were, I didn't know procedure.
Right.
And
that's what she told me.
We're so ingrained, even as Jehovah Witnesses, you know, like Mikey was saying earlier, sometimes we have leftover indoctrination ourselves, and that we and unwittingly, unknowingly sometimes, and maybe on purpose, you know, inflict some of the same harm on each other.
Right.
So, I thank you so much, Amy Maria. We have Emma on the backstage here. Did you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I just wanted to tell you guys thank you so much, and you guys are impacting people, and you're changing people's lives, and we definitely appreciate it. You're helping this recovery process, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy Marie, and thank you for joining us. And we're going to bring Amy, and thank you, and join us again.
Thank you,
Amy. Guys.
See you later.
I would just like to say to anyone who's freshly waking up and thinking about picking up activism, I feel like you need to distance yourself just a bit before you do that. You need to get your therapy. You need to get on your medications if you need any. You need to just do talk therapy if you don't need any medication, because they can easily find out if it's like a behavior cognitive problem that can be solved with talk therapy, or if it's already so bad that it rewired your brain and you need some chemical fixing for it. And once you find that out, once you distance yourself enough to be able to think about JWs without harming yourself, because I have been out, this is my 9th year out, and I have just gotten into activism because this was the time when I felt like I had enough distance, I have a strong enough setting that I can be there for others. Because activism is not just standing here giving talks and then dropping the mic and bye. People are gonna contact you asking for help. You're gonna have to travel. You're gonna have to deal with some politics, optics, and you're gonna have to be mindful of that. So take a break. Just get yourself together first, because just like when an airplane loses pressure, you need to put on your mask first before you can help others, because you can't help others and die in the process.
I heard it first. I've heard it first from Molly, and that's a good illustration. And I used to get W's on illustrations in the theocratic ministry school. Oh, yeah, former elders. I am working on my illustrations.
Oh God, I lived on the W.
Did you? I was horrible. I used to bomb in it.
Mine was like it, then finally a G. Like it was so bad.
I was going to give sister, we'll give you your counsel after the meeting. I'll be like, oh, what did I do now? So
that was excellent, Molly, and so true. You know, we were overwhelmed when we first, started doing YouTube videos. We were overwhelmed because we weren't expecting all of this behind the scenes. We just thought, oh, a couple of loudmouth clowns, mocking Watchtower, and we started doing videos. Oh my God, we started getting, comments and emails and phone calls. And thanks to John Cedars for outing all of our personal information, everybody was able to get our address and our phone number and our email. So, we got all.
Let me come back on screen for that. Y'all catch that?
He doxed you.
All right, go ahead, Kim.
And yeah, we had a few death threats that then knew who we were and where we lived.
Right.
And put our family in danger. But for the most part, a lot were able to contact us and we were able to help. And sometimes, yes, you do need to recommend a professional therapist. A lot of times they just need to be told, breathe, it will be okay. Right. First, take time for yourself. Time is on your hands now. And work on you, heal yourself, find out who you are first. Don't worry about doing activists or on all these forums and stuff, because a lot of them are toxic.
And let me just say something, because a lot of activists quit.
Yeah.
Because of the toxicity and because of lack of self-care. So you don't have to jump in. I know that we are trained that we have to go it's like you go preach for the Watchtower and you're militant for the Watchtower. And then when you're out of the Watchtower, you reverse preaching and you're militant as an ex-Jehovah Witness. And everybody that don't agree with you, you upset. So the thing of the matter is healing is appointment. Like Molly said, you can't give from an empty well.
That's right. Well, one of the reasons why, another reason why Kim and I, jumped in this and started going the way we were going is because the Watchtower Bible Tract Society, their policies will cause imminent danger. And I think that's the reason why a lot of us jump into it and want to become activists, because we recognize the danger is imminent, because your family, your friends who are JWs could be in a car wreck tomorrow and they would choose death over a blood transfusion.
Well,
so that the danger is real and it's imminent. It could happen tomorrow.
And the reason suicides, JWs and ex-JWs committing suicide is so close to our heart, and why we try so hard to, get the right kind of help for ones who are just so destitute, is my little brother, and of course my mom to this day says, oh, well, he was mentally ill, he was going to commit suicide no matter what. Well, I feel that he was gay. So, that is a strike against you right there in the organization, because we know how Watchtower feels about people who are gay or lesbian. And, then you compound all of that. And I don't know if he had a mental illness or not, but he had depression and he committed suicide in 2003. So, I don't want to see Watchtower win and another person lose their life and hurt themselves or get hurt or lose their life over, refusing blood. All these children who have died for refusing blood. I mean, oh my God, it just brings tears to your eyes. Just over, a stupid cult, and their parents do this to them. The parents do this to them.
I'm so sorry, Kim. I didn't know that.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
And it's so etched in our heads that last year my grandpa was hospitalized for an inflammation in his lungs, and he needed a blood transfusion. And basically, out of my blood family, I was the only one who was ever a JW. And still, when I heard, oh my God, I can't even speak anymore. It's 2:30 a.m. here, so I'm a bit out of my shuffle. So it was like when I first heard the doctor say he needs blood transfusion, and the doctor handed the consent form to my grandma, and I was like, he's gonna die. It's over. He's dead. He can't take the blood. He was never a JW, and yet here I was in my head already burying him. Well, he ended up dying because his lung gave out, but he received the blood, but still, when the doctor said blood transfusion, my brain immediately just went there. I have been out for 8 years at that point, and yeah.
Hi, Jennifer.
We're so sorry, Molly. We're so sorry.
Hi, Jennifer. Sorry, I'm pulling the buttons back here, and I was trying to come on a lot quicker. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us. Jennifer, why don't you hang on the line? We are going to actually move through some slides that we have prepared. PJ, you moved. You're down here now. You were here, now you're there. Musical chairs, I guess. So here we go. As we move through the slides, and then Jennifer, we're going to come back and we're going to get to you. And you can tell us why you joined us today. So here we go. Give me a second to do that. Just to keep the conversation going, you guys. And it's so lovely what we prepare here. I'm joking. So here we go. PJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about this slide? I love this shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I silently protested my father's funeral, and I wore this shirt to his funeral. I covered it up when I first got there with like a wrap. And then once the brother got up on stage and started giving the discourse and everybody put their head down to pray, I uncovered it and sat there just silently. I didn't say anything. I was so upset because my father had been inactive since 1975 failed. And they were up there using his death to spread their propaganda. And I wanted everybody to know how I felt about it. It's a cult. There it is on the shirt.
Yeah. All right. And you know what? Let me just say something. I actually saw this next clip that we're going to see live. I was actually a new person on Facebook in the Jehovah Witness community. And let me just say, PJ was one of the first activists that I befriended. We were also shared in a newspaper, featured in a newspaper that we're going to show coming up. But when I saw PJ walking there badass with this cult shirt on, sit in the front row, y'all, protesting at her father's funeral, I said, who is this girl? So I'm thinking, like, if she can do it, and that's how that happens. You know, when another activist inspires you, it's contagious. So anyway, let me go ahead and go to this next clip because I'm talking it up. But I was very, 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 very taken away that she would be this bold. So let's see if I can find the clip here, and we're just gonna go through the clip.
This on this way. There we go. What? Me?
I'm not good at this CNC stuff.
First of all, this is Jesus speaking, and he says, most truly I say to you, the hour is coming, and it is now, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who have paid attention will live. Now let's go down a little bit to verses 28 and 29. Jesus says, do not be amazed at this.
All right, so we'll just cut him off right there. I don't know why I couldn't cut the clip quicker because we're not trying to hear all that. So anyway, other than that, PJ, tell us about the clips that we saw.
Well, the guy that's giving the talk is also the guy that gave the talk when my sister committed suicide when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
He had let his first wife die after surgery, refusing blood when his children were very young. And it tore his entire family up. One of his children was in and out of jail 3-4 times for breaking into stuff, doing drugs, different things. He had a daughter who had been disfellowshipped and reinstated 4 times. She was in and out of abusive relationships. He remarried 6 months after his first wife died.
Wow.
To a woman that was 11 years younger than him and 11 years older than his oldest. And she abused his children. And then he sat up there and talked about my dad for 5 minutes, and then that was it.
And so for the non-Jehovah Witnesses that may be watching our stream today, a Jehovah Witness funeral is more of a promotion event or a for the religion itself. I have to say that I finally, when I was Christian, after leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses, I visited a church funeral and it was entirely different. They reminisced on the person. They talked about this person's life. They revered the person. They shared stories. People of the family could actually go up on the podium and actually talk about this person. Whereas growing up as a born-in Jehovah's Witnesses, all the funerals that I attended, number one, there were no caskets there for some reason. They were always memorials, I think. I never really went to I went to maybe one funeral in my life where there was actually an open casket or a casket there, period. It was always memorials, but I don't know if that's something strange with them. But anyway, on top of that, their events more talk about their teachings of a new another life or afterlife, and they talk about the person's accomplishments within the organization, whether the person was a pioneer, elder, etc. And it's more of if you went on a talk or went on a sermon on any service that they have on any Sunday, it's really pretty much the same. They recycle it. They actually have prepared outlines or prepared talks just for funerals. So they don't really stray too much from the script. I know it sounds weird, but that's the life we come from, and that's pretty much how they operate. So that's what PJ is referring to. It's not a remembrance or you're reflecting on the person's life or celebrating the person's life. You're celebrating the person's achievements within the organization. And then actually some services, they actually hand out their literature afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or they have it on the table there by the person's picture. I actually have the funeral outline for JWs that the elders give. And it literally says 5 minutes to talk about the person. And then it gives them a regular outline, like it does a public outline. And I have been to JW funerals where there is a casket there and they will actually have the casket open. I was shocked that, they would allow that in the Kingdom Hall.
But those are few and far in between.
Yeah, and I know
memorials.
Yeah, and Will just mentioned in the comments, how could they have a JW funeral at the Kingdom Hall for suicide? I've never been to one at the Kingdom Hall for suicide, but they will have it. They will rent a room somewhere, like where they rent the rooms for their potlucks. Well, they'll rent a room and have a funeral, a memorial for, someone who has committed suicide. At least that's been, my experience.
When my sister committed suicide, we had to actually pay a funeral home to host us, and that elder gave the talk from the podium in the chapel at the funeral home, which I had never been to a Jehovah Witness funeral that was in a funeral home ever before. This was the first one. But there was a big argument before this happened with the elders at our congregation about how it couldn't happen in a Kingdom Hall, how they didn't think an elder should give the talk. This elder volunteered. He said it didn't bother his conscience. He acted all big about it. And, I'm sure people were like, oh, wasn't that nice of him to do that when she did what she did?
Right.
So it wasn't in the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
Before we go to our next segment, Jennifer, we're not going to hold you on the line because I don't know how long you have.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But before we go to the next segment, we're actually going to talk about that a little bit more. Jennifer, can you tell us why you joined us today? And thank you for joining us, by the way.
It's Tim and Mike, come on.
Right.
I mean, okay,
we're not worthy.
Well, I know you guys don't want it, But like I've been out since 1994.
Wow. Okay.
I was 22. I had messaged you guys before, like, and told you my story a long time ago. But I don't want to get into my story. It's like way too long. I've got like a lot, but oh my God, I could comment on so many different things here. But anyway, I started even though I was out for so long, I didn't get into the EXJW community. Some things were going on. I actually wound up moving back in with my parents. Well, they had an apartment, and I saw a lot of things that they were doing that I'm like, wait a second, they didn't do that when I was a kid. You know, like going to I have a nephew that they have always plays in the Nutcracker every year, and my parents are going to that and paying for the tickets and all that stuff, and I'm like, okay. I confronted my dad, and I'm like, Dad, that's Chris. We couldn't even watch that as a kid, you know, when I was a kid, and it's like things like that. So I was like, you know, and there's a lot of other things that had happened that I watched, things that they were doing with their literature studies. I don't call it Bible studies. The literature studies. You know? So
I like that one. I'm gonna have to use that one.
Yeah, because like I catch myself, you know, but it's literature studies because it's not you use the Bible as like basically a reference, you know, and you study the literature.
It's an afterthought. It's totally
yeah. So and they're distorted Bible scriptures anyway. So but I was like, you know what? I said to myself one day, because I was just so angry with the things that I saw that was going on and how they were. I mean, I caught them in outright lies, you know. I mean, I love my parents, and they're really good people, but they do a lot of things in the name of the Watchtower that are very hurtful and have been. But they're good people on that. But anyway, so I'm like, okay. Facebook has got all kinds of different all different kinds of groups, right? Support groups. I'm saying to myself, and I'm like, I bet you they got EXJWs. So I like did a search on it. I was like, oh my God. And then that turned me on to your videos, to Mike and Kim's videos, and oh my God, I was like, you know, I watch a lot, and I have my own channel too, which is called Born in Pixie, which I haven't done anything with it in a while, but I did tell my story in it.
Yeah.
Make sure you drop the link below. But yes, Born in Pixie.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
I mean, I'm kind of like some of my video, like I'm kind of like embarrassed about it in a sense, but it was my state of mind. It's just my state of mind when I did it, because I get very emotional, and doing the videos really helped me to have more peace of mind and be in a better state now. I did a couple years ago, so to be able to like publicly tell my story, and it's basically, even though I can't like confront people face to face like that, you know, now I wouldn't want to anyway. I want to be in that space, but you know, even breathe the same air as so many people. Huh?
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people use YouTube. I don't know, maybe somebody.
But it heals. It helps you heal by talent. Yeah.
Heal.
I mean, you guys. I mean, you were talking. Well, I want to talk about the death thing too, but the funerals. But about going on medication and stuff. Oh my God, I became like severely depressed when I was like 16. And it had to do with coming to the realization, well, an incident happened with my family at school, and with school, my parents found out about it, and I cut school, whatever. Once in my life, I was a good girl. I cut school once with a boy. So I got in trouble, and then yeah. So, you know, I love boys. So anyways, but of course you're not allowed to have boyfriends, and you can't have friends in school, even girlfriends. No one could call you. You could talk on the phone. I mean, just like completely sheltered. And they basically, the following day, when they find out, they went into school behind my back, and I was like 16, and they changed all my classes, so I couldn't be in. This is my parents. I'm like, I mean, the control. Not like my freedom was school. That was my freedom. That was where I could be who I wanted to be. But like when you're at home, you got to put on a different face. Or at the Kingdom Hall, you got to put on a different face. And that was my freedom, and that was my outlet. People, like at the end of the school year, it's like in June, everybody would like you know, hug. And I mean, I was crying because I knew I wasn't going to see anybody until September, you know, or have any contact with them. So, but anyway, so I went into this deep depression because I came to this realization, like, you're a teenager now. You want your freedom, your independence. When you're a little kid, you don't really notice it that much because mommy and daddy are everything. But now you want to reach out, branch out, make friends. And you can't even develop friends. You can't. You have no freedom. You have no outlet. You have nothing. Some Jehovah's Witness kids do, but I didn't. And it's your home. That's I call it my JW prison that I lived in. And it's like, I couldn't even ride my bicycle off the road that we lived on. My mom, I did it once or twice. My mom came looking for me. So,
well,
but it's like
you know what, Jennifer, my mom we could ride our bikes from one tree. There was like 4 houses down and right back to where we were. So
and you weren't doing anything wrong. I lived out in farm country. It was at dairy farms in New York. I didn't live that. Yeah, I grew up in Orange County, which is the same county that Warwick's in. Not too far. And my parents, like their congregation actually has territory, preaching territory in Warwick. So like I know exactly where everything is, and I Watchtower Farms was like really close by, and been there many times. But anyway, I went on medication because I went into this deep depression, and I just refused to talk to anybody, and I was just sitting in my room. And my mom's like, "Well, you got to go to a doctor," and they, put me on 16 years old. But I also am a survivor of child sexual abuse. So, there's just so many. I was on and off medications throughout my entire life, and therapy, attempted suicides. I've been hospitalized like 4 or 5 times. It's I got a big long history of nothing but heartache and all that stuff. But anyway, as far as the what do you call it? The suicide thing, or not suicide, but the funerals. I wanted to share experience recently. My uncle had passed away, non JW. My parents came into it when my mom was pregnant with me, and I'm one of 6 kids, and I'm the 4th one. So my 3 older ones were able to celebrate birthdays and all that stuff, before. But anyway, my uncle passes away, and now I moved to North Carolina, and my parents are still in New York. So I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm thinking maybe it's close to a year ago. So it'll be almost a year ago, I'm thinking now, since he passed. So I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's telling me, and it's so sad because my mom's like the strongest person I've ever known. Like she's like one of these women that like she doesn't cry, and she's like just so strong and just braves through everything. And her voice is getting choked up, and she's like, "Jennifer, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself," because now she's like the only girl, and her younger brother passed away years ago, and now her older brother passed away. She's like, "I don't know this feeling I have inside of me," she's saying, right? That she's like this emptiness, and she's like, "I don't know what it is." She's like, "I just feel so empty." She's like, "I don't know how I'm going to be able to sleep." And I'm like, she says, "But I shouldn't be feeling this way. And I'm just going to have to like just block it out and ignore it." And I'm like, "Mom, no, you have every right to grieve for your brother. Come on." But that's like what the Watchtower does, is that you're not supposed to grieve. And my mom is here.
Yes.
I was in tears. I was choked up. Like I wish I could go through that phone and just like hug her, because it's like, Mom, you need to allow yourself to grieve. And that was something that like she's so strong-willed, and like I'm getting choked up thinking about it. But
take a moment if you can. I just want to say, for those who are, again, our audience that's watching, that grieving within the Jehovah's Witnesses is like a huge no-no at a funeral. I've witnessed it myself. When someone has gotten over emotional, they will take you out, and it appears to be that you have a lack of faith, is what I was told. If you're crying too much or over theatrical, or not theatrical, but I guess just grieving because you're sad because you lost somebody. Jennifer, before we let you go, we do have Molly backstage. Do you have any other final thoughts that you want to share with us, or about the show, or with Kim and Mikey?
No, well, I'm gonna be watching the show from. You guys are like, okay. First, okay, through Rick Fearon, Matt Christopher, I got Chessa, you know, and now you like now this like whole thing with this glass table was like this is like so cool.
Okay, so
and I love it.
Kathy Allen is asking for your YouTube name because they want to see your videos.
Yeah,
a lot of people in the comments love to hear your story.
It's Born in Pixie. The picture of me is when I was 4 years old, and that's when I was first molested. You know?
Oh wow, I'm so sorry to hear that.
And it was a he's not a Jehovah's Witness, but his mother was, and so and she still is a devout Jehovah's Witness, but like we were very close with the family and stuff. I mean, he had a non-believing father, and so the kids kind of, you know, they came to the meetings, but then they didn't, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, and so that's why I have the picture of when I was a little girl, because you know, 4 years old. That's when, you know, you see that big happy smile and stuff, and it's like it's just kind of changed it all. You know,
we thank you so much, Jennifer, for you trusting our platform enough to be able to share your story, to be able to be as open.
You don't know all my story. Oh my God. But you know
what? We are actually dedicating a show to child sex abuse CSA, child sex abuse survivors. It's actually coming up soon. So you are welcome to come back to share.
It's really bad. But anyway, I want to say something quick.
Okay, sure. Go right ahead.
We're talking about the also too, Kim, you had said something about your brother and how like he committed suicide and stuff, and like how your mother said, oh, he was mentally ill or whatever, you know, and he was gonna do it. You know what? That's something that really pisses me off that people say, because all my life, since I was 4 years old is when it all started, and then growing up in the Watchtower, that added a little more to it. But my entire family is, oh, she's crazy, she's nuts. Well, yeah, I'm the one that wound up in the mental hospital, you know, more than a few times, out of my siblings and stuff. And she's nuts, she's crazy, dismiss her. Instead of asking me why. Instead of trying to find out why I feel that way, why I want to hurt myself, why am I depressed? Ask the reason why. I mean, I know there's a lot of times it's very frustrating to try to understand even yourself of why. Like with the complex post-traumatic stress, a lot of times you don't register why you feel the way because your conscious mind does not remember. Doesn't connect the dots with what you're feeling now when you're being triggered. So it's the emotion that you might be triggered, but you don't connect the dots to the trauma that you had before, if that makes sense. But
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, at this juncture, I just want to say that I'm looking at the comments here. We do have, there's an article that I can share with you guys that I personally wrote about, if you are leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses and having suicidal thoughts, numbers you can call, things you can do to reach out for help. I just want to say here that I know that you guys are sharing a lot of your stories here, but if you are having suicidal thoughts, I'm gonna dig up the number. Maybe one of us can dig up the hotline real quick so I can flash it across the screen, because nothing is worth you hurting yourself over, and there are so many of us, and PJ can attest to this, even in her activism and all of our activism, we have all been touched by suicide of an ex-Jehovah's Witness in some way. So, I just want to encourage you guys in the comments to talk about it in a very healthy way. But if you are needing some help or need to reach out for assistance, we're going to get that hotline and we're going to flash it across the screen here. Jennifer, we thank you so much. We got Molly backstage.
Yeah, I'll be talking to you again. This is great.
Make sure you check out our future shows, because we actually do come on anytime, girl. Come and share your stories and share. So we thank you so much, Molly. Are you still back there?
Mike and Kim, I love you guys. I love you guys. Much love to both of you.
Love you too, Jennifer. Thank you. And you look great. You've come such a long way since back when you first contacted us.
If you remember me, I've such a better place now.
Thank you so much.
the peace inside of you, the peace, contentment, happy with who you are.
Yes.
Don't need to prove it to anybody. I don't care what you think. I don't care what religion you are. I'm going to love you whoever you are, and I'll show you that love, but you also got to show me respect. Otherwise, bye. You know?
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much.
So proud of you. So proud of you, Jennifer. My goodness. Those Hi, Molly.
Thank you. You've been back. As the bunnies, are they doing okay? Are they driving you crazy? Thank you, Chessa, so much for putting the hotline up there. That is the hotline. And so we're gonna move on. We are 2.5, almost approaching 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 minutes. We have not been on here 3 minutes, y'all. 3 hours in our show. So we're gonna actually go to our next segment to try to keep the conversation going. We do have somebody. I see somebody trying to come in on the stream. Keep going. You're almost there.
I think that's Sport Girl in the comments. Hi, sweetie. I know, she has a problem with depression too. There's so many that have so many problems. And, we see the happy faces and them doing videos, but we don't see behind the camera and the problems they deal with. And, I'm not picking on Smurf Girl, but so many. And, our hearts go out to all of you and all of the abuse survivors and all of the suicide survivors. And I'm sorry, I'm keeping you from doing your clips.
You're fine. Thank you for having you. So now it's saying that we're at max capacity for guests. So we thank you so much for joining us and clicking the link to join us. So we're going to try to get to everybody as soon as we can. I think there is a limitation at some point that they will cut us off on the stream. So we're going to go try to move through these clips so that we can keep going here. PJ, I don't know if y'all can see me behind this little flag up here. But PJ and I were featured in a Kegel Harbor. First of all, Mike and Kim did a video on the Kegel Harbor murder suicide. I'm native here to Michigan. So this was all plastered all over our screens. It was talked about. I even have a recording of talking to a Jehovah's Witness about this because it was who came to my door. Because if you come to my door, I don't know if y'all can see me, but if you come to my door, you might get preached to back. So in any case, PJ, can you tell us a little bit? You started to touch on about your sister. So can you tell us a little bit more about your story that was featured in this article, and then we can move on Right.
Oh, where'd it go?
Oh, here we go. Sorry. There you go.
I lost it.
Well, actually, let me actually bring up the actual article here. I actually dug it up here. This is the actual front. It was front page news, not only on the Free Press, but also the USA Today.
The story went international. I was sent a copy of the story in Italian as well. It was in an Italian newspaper. But basically what had happened is I was online reading about Lauren Stewart and the Kegel Harbor murder-suicide, where she had killed her husband, her adult son, her adult daughter, and then herself. And it was all because they had been disfellowshipped for sending their children to college to get an education. And when I read that story, it just moved me to the point that I couldn't stay quiet anymore, and I just had to talk about what happened to my sister when she got disfellowshipped for making a mistake, and everybody cut her off, and then she ended up shooting herself. And I remember talking to Therese about us on the phone about everything, and she was flabbergasted to find out how many times disfellowshipping and shunning ended in suicide.
Thank you, PJ. And I at this juncture, I like to say, I'm sorry, give me a second here. I'm trying to flip these screens, y'all, back here. back in the back screens. I just want to say that I do see you guys behind the stage. Please hold on. Don't go. We'll get to you. I like to say that I dropped a link in the comments of my husband and I actually reflecting, almost hyperventilating, very nervous about the fact that we were featured in this article. And here's the reason why. My husband and I use aliases because my husband is still in the organization, technically, although he is out. So he's technically a fader. However, we both have family because we were very much in the organization who are don't know that we've apostatized, but pretty much know that we're no longer in the organization. So I like to say that we're not going to show the clips because we're short on time today, but go ahead and listen to our thoughts and reflections on the article there. There was a situation, and I just want to say that if you guys are into activism, that you have the right to be able to kind of control your own narrative, which is important, because if you have family that are still in and you want to use aliases or you want to be behind the scenes where people don't really know who you are, you have to be very not aggressive, but very assertive with some of the press to be able to let you be able to tell your story at your own place and be able to tell, whether or not you want to reveal yourself or not. And that was anonymity was very important for us because of our precarious situation of us both having family that are in the truth, so to speak, or in the organization. And because of, unfortunately, the platform that we were given within the Jehovah's Witnesses, we still live in the neighborhood, y'all. People know us. Like they see us. We see them at the store like once or twice a day. So I'm like, seriously, that's how small of a world, even though Detroit is very big, the Jehovah's Witness world is very small. So I won't go into a lot because you guys can look at that here. And I also want to acknowledge, let me get out this close up here. I got the live banner on me again. I don't know what's going on here, y'all. I want to acknowledge Apostle Babe's comment, who said that she also did a video. I'm sorry, Apostle Babe, it's kind of buried here. Oh, there we go. That you made a recording about the Kegel Harbor murder suicide, but you haven't posted it because you really had gotten real when you recorded it. I'm going to, though, make sure you guys look out for Apostle Babe Lynn James's video. Here's the thing. Doing YouTube videos, this type, it is a activism, but it's also a service. I'm sorry if you can see me. Service and a labor of love. So I just want to say that we should support each other because we all have the common goal of trying to not only help Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses out of the cult, but also to heal, because we're all in this journey together. You know what I'm saying? We're all on the same road. We're all on the same journey. And I know we're saying kumbaya and we love each other tonight and tomorrow we're going to be arguing. But at the same time, I just hope that we can actually remember that we're family and that we love each other, that family fall out and you love each other and then you fall out again. And then some of y'all too toxic that we probably never talk to again. And y'all probably won't talk to us because you probably think we toxic. But at the same time, I just like to say that we all have the same common goal. And some of us have the same struggles, the same hurts and pains, cry the same tears. And Kim and Mikey could probably attest that even in my little baby activism, I've been up many a nights talking to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and Jehovah's Witnesses alike who are on the edge, y'all, who don't want to be here no more, who can't do it no more. So while we arguing and we fighting, can we all get along?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that we are not in a cult anymore. So we're not all gonna get along and we don't need to. Honestly, you can't be friends with everyone. At one point, you have to stand up and say no and just cut contact with certain people because they are not helping you better yourself or not helping you be healthy. And sometimes
boundaries are important. That's what Molly is trying to say. Boundaries are important. Now, I'm not saying that.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, we can show a little more mercy, give us each other just a little bit more grace. I know I'm not a Christian no more, and I'm not preaching to y'all, but I'm just saying we can give each other a little bit more kindness and give each other a little bit more benefit of the doubt. Not everybody is a crook. Not everybody is out here out to get us, you know, and it's the same energy that you gave the Watchtower, which was 0, because a lot of y'all who are complaining when y'all was sitting in the Kingdom Hall, y'all wasn't asking the Watchtower about the finances. Y'all wasn't holding the Watchtower account when y'all in the hall. But at the same time, y'all want to, you know, hold activists to a unbelievable standard. You know, beyond the Watchtower, and attack activists who are trying to help you. The Watchtower didn't care about you. The Watchtower, the activists do. You know, a lot of us do. Now, a lot of us not, you know, we are all people. Not all of us are in it for the right reason, but you'll be able to point out those ones. We're not going to shout them out on this channel, but you do have to be careful because not everybody is out for your best interest. So, Molly, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I mean,
yeah, so just
I don't know, as they say, the spirit hit me. I don't know.
That if someone is pushing you in a wrong direction, if someone is being a fucking bigot, you have the right to say, fuck you, I'm out, bye. Like, no, you don't need to. I actually recently made a cleaning up on my Facebook, and I was just like, no, if you have anything pro-life, if you have anything racist, if you have anything anti-queer on your page, you're out. Bye. I don't care. I'm as much as you have the right to say it, I have the right to say I don't want to be exposed to that.
That's why we left Facebook back in 2017, 2018, whatever it was. It just got horrible. I could not deal with Facebook and all of the hate and attacks and just, oh my goodness, it was just so much. You know, someone who would need help would actually kind of get neglected because here's someone like, oh, well, I contacted you a month ago. Why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? And it's like, because it wasn't a priority, because we're trying to fight a cult here.
Right. And you know what? We lose so many of our good activists because y'all just wear people out.
Yeah.
Y'all just do. I mean, I'm not just y'all. I'm not. I know I'm new, so I'm not just saying, you know, you did, but I'm just saying some of y'all just wear people out with all of the drama y'all got going on. So we're just gonna keep it moving, and we're gonna keep it positive. So the next, go ahead, Molly.
I started activism last September, and I needed a break by fucking November.
Girl, yes. I take frequent self-care breaks now. That's what I call them now.
I was like, you know what?
Y'all not gonna wear me
out.
Not crazy. Yeah, we're joking, y'all. We're it's all in good fun.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Been a few times when Kim and I have just said, you know, to hell with this. Well, why are we giving so much of our life when there is still just, you know, so much hate? But we also have to remember too that when it comes to Facebook, who do you really know is on your Facebook? Have you met these people?
Right.
They're just a name. They very much could be XJWs, or they could be just a troll pretending to be an XJW, trying to get that that recognition or reaching out for anything that they can get a hold of. I've lost my word that I was looking for.
The train left the station.
Yeah, the train's gone. But that's part of the problems that we face, is that when you see that there's a genuine need, how many trolls are on that Facebook just to disrupt what we're trying to accomplish? And that gets very hard at times, because those that are in genuine need are now going to have to pay the price for the disruptors. So it's really a double-edged sword.
And you know, it got so difficult to where, like, when we go to bed at night, we have to unplug our phone now. Like literally. I mentioned before, you know, a prominent XJW activist revealed our home phone and, you know, home physical address and stuff. We would get this guy, he would drink and he would get drunk and he would call us at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And he would be crying about losing his JW family and all of this. And we're like, what can we do? We can't do anything to help you. And it's 2:00 in the morning. Mike has to get up and go to work. I've got a busy schedule tomorrow. And he would get mad at us. And he actually got to where he would send me just tons and tons of emails and phone calls, just cussing us out. You would not believe the language. And he goes, "You're my effing brothers and sisters. Stop acting like effing JW witnesses." You know, and so this is why we have to unplug our phone at night when, he has to go to bed early because, he gets up early to go to work. Mm-hmm. So, we have to unplug our phone at night, but this is the kind of stuff you have to deal with behind the scenes.
It's why you have to set boundaries and stick with them.
Turn off your phones.
Otherwise,
and also,
run your ragged.
Also, don't just take breaks when you are worn out. No. Also take daily breaks. Like these days I got into the habit of just putting my phone like far away from me, just sitting down at my laptop with a notebook and focusing on my writing. And I'm like, well, you can tag me, call me, message me. If it's like something urgent, obviously I still look at my phone periodically because I know that I move in a circle where it's necessary that we stay in touch because we're activists and we're dealing with fragile people. So obviously you're not gonna want to leave them hanging. So I check my phone every like 30 to 60 minutes, but I'm gonna be like, if it's not urgent, I'm seeing your message, but I might not reply immediately because I'm doing something that I do for pure enjoyment or entertainment.
Exactly. And that's another thing I saw an activist. I said this actually the other day. I don't know if y'all can see me. I don't mean to cut you off, Kim. But I saw an activist the other day actually complain, and it's probably an activist that was mentioned here. Just a little tea here. But anyway, complain about the fact that they get so many inboxes.
Yeah, I have been in touch with activists far bigger than I think my activism will ever be. And they were like, oh my God, I want to wake up once without all these fucking messages. Oh my God, I want to wake up once without all this fucking like drama. And I'm like, well, you fucking chose it, didn't you?
Okay, in that spirit, somebody actually says here, Molly, this message is for you. They says that they love when Molly drops the F-bomb. That's our favorite word. We can attest to that. Can we? That is Molly's word, y'all. So
I'm
before
sorry,
we,
I'm the reason why this channel ain't never gonna be monetized.
You should.
One thing I do want to say, if you're an activist and you want to run a group, because I've ran my group for 12 years now, right? Get yourself a good mod team.
Yes.
Because I have days where I have to step away from the group and just not have that group in my day.
Yes.
And I still get drama kicking off and people have to deal with, but it is very draining.
Yes,
and I wouldn't give it up for the world because I do it for a reason. And people have actually, like I've said before on this show, that people have told me that my group has saved their life. So for that reason, I would never ever give up the group, but it does take a hell of a lot out of you.
It does.
I just want to say that that Emma, you're a ex-Jehovah Witness group over 4,000 members or more, right?
Mm-hmm. 500 so far.
I am in a group about 4,000 men or more, but they're Jehovah Witnesses. So let me just say something. Self-care is important because they report posts that are just because they just don't like what's going on, or
even EXJW do. We're allowed to talk about sex now, and now we report a post about sex, and I'm like, really? Like,
honestly, it's crazy. I was I was in some JW group, and I even was a moderator in one. And honestly, I appreciated the people, and I actually loved that. That came out wrong, but I loved people reaching out to me because I was like, fuck yeah, that is why I'm doing this. That is why I accepted being a moderator in the first place. Like, yeah, I want people to know that I got them, like, because I do. And if you're a person who knows me from those days, fuck yeah, hit me up, reach out. I'm here. I'm still here. I still have love for you, but I'm following my conscience and not someone else's conscience like I was expected to.
Okay, so you heard it straight from Molly. Fuck yeah. Reach out to her. All right. So here we go. I don't know where we're going to cut off in the stream, and I do want to get to our last 3 slides. And Chessa, can you tell us a little bit about the beautiful slides? Stop saying that you didn't know what you were doing, because this is awesome. Tell us about what we're seeing here.
Okay, so this is my free speech slide, and that's kind of when I started like really engaging myself in the EXJW community, because up until then I've been following activists doing their thing. Like the VAA would have protests. There was a UK protest. That was super inspiring for me, and a lot of that was what helped me feel the courage to speak out. And so I was the first blog up there in the corner to have on VAA's website. Also, I got to meet Sharon Tyson. She actually she did her own one-man protest. I think she talked about that a couple weeks ago. And she ended up meeting up with me, so we got to do that. The one of me in the shirt is where I have the I voted sticker. I got to vote for the first time. That was a wild experience. And then there's a couple of me and my dad, how he was supporting me. The one at the bottom is the first video I ever did, where I actually like introduced myself and kind of explained some of the stuff that I wanted to do. And then the one at the far bottom is one of my best friends, Annie Dodge. She actually went with me to the ROTC rally. She was with me, like holding my hands for me, telling the Philadelphia Inquirer about my article. And she even went to Brooklyn with me when I filmed for the witnesses. Like, she's a trooper. She's never been a witness. She's just in it to win it. And that was her friend, Marianne, who let us stay with her when we were in PA. So yeah, that's the first slide. And then this is Barbara Anderson. And again, she just helped me kind of find my voice and kind of gave me like all the details on Watchtower policy and stuff like that. She had watchtowerdocuments.org. And so she really like went into explaining how we can deal with policy in a way that will make it change in the future to be better for children. So she was really a huge help to me. And she was also a really good friend of my dad's. She was with him. I think he called her like a couple days before he died even. So she was a huge support to him, and I'm really appreciative to her for that. And then this is the article that the Inquirer published on our protest. So this was the first protest that I did, and it was for Reading, Pennsylvania. There was a assembly there. And that was the first protest I ever did in 2018. These are some of the signs that we had. Everybody kind of, I love seeing people's signs because everybody comes up with their own deal. But the signs behind me, kind of up here, are also from that PA protest. Those are all the signs that were printed out. And then this is when we were there. So WGAL came and they interviewed us and talked about our protest as the local news station in Reading. We had John Redwood with us. We had a lot of people there. There was even some PMOs who came and didn't want their faces shown, but they came with signs to protest with us, which was wild. And we actually had a director there. I can't go too much into it, but we also had a director from another type of venue. So we got really empowered. Some of those shots that are shown in the news clip from there are also part of his direction and kind of goading us forward. So it ended up being an awesome protest for sure. And then, yeah, so the reporter who came to interview me, she had already contacted the convention beforehand and said that she was a member of the press and that she wanted to meet with someone who was a press representative there. So they said, yeah, they gave her the access. So she came and interviewed me on the sidewalk first during her protest, and then she tried to go in, and they actually got on camera. It's on the news clip from the news. That gentleman down there who's kind of smug, he said, your supposed privileges have been revoked. And the way he said it was like he was waiting to say that line his whole life. And he was like suddenly the cool kid, right? But they were trying to fight us all day long. We went during the middle of the day because everybody was inside. They gave an announcement and said that apostates have surrounded the building. So you guys are in danger, stay in. So, and all we had was signs. We weren't doing anything wrong. We literally shouted, "We love you. Just call the police." That's the whole message that was there. So we tried to take a break, and I think there was like a Dairy Queen or something, and we tried to sit down there. And we had a film crew with us. We were all trying to hang out and breathe. And they actually called the Dairy Queen, and we're like, "Oh, they shouldn't be there. That's too many people on a property. Blah 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 blah." Like to get us to stop doing that. Even it was crazy. Yeah, but it was a great protest. It was very successful.
Cool. Now I'm looking forward to what's gonna happen when I get my hands in on Bethel. Like I am like a loaf of bread. Anyone could grab me and take me. I'm like, I literally weigh nothing. I mean, maybe after quarantine it might be a challenge because I keep eating all day. Like anyway.
So guys, we see you guys in the comments. We want to thank all of our guests for coming onto the show. Stacey, Galvan, Kimmy, Mikey. It looks like we do have one other question here. Mike and Kim, I just don't understand, or it's more of a statement. Mike and Kim, I just don't understand people, why they do that to you. I've never reached out in the coffin. I always wanted to do that, but I never got a chance to do it.
Well, you all need to be on the nail in coffin.
Yeah.
I've been a nail in the coffin.
I've done it. I'm on it.
I want to do it. I want to do it.
Even Mike was like, wow, because I think it was like 10 or 11 of my family read out. Like, it was just like, wow.
Well, I think it was your Facebook group. There was some on your Facebook group.
Yeah, I did that as well. Yeah.
So all of you were on there. Yeah. So Spencer, I've got you, Jennifer.
Well, what the faith with the coffin
Molly?
is.
Molly? Yeah. Let's do it. Can you tell us, for those who are not familiar for those not familiar with the nail in coffin, can you just briefly tell our audience what it is?
No, go ahead. I'm writing names.
Well, we noticed looking at Watchtower's year-end report that they quit tracking how many people were disfellowshipped. So we knew that Watchtower at that point was having a hemorrhage problem, that they no longer would track how many people are leaving. So we decided to mock Watchtower, that, you know, with the coffin lid, we were going to kind of keep track of it ourselves, right? And then it just blossomed. So what we did originally...
Sorry to interrupt you, dear, but I just want to mention...
Are you correcting me? Are you correcting me live on YouTube right here?
No, sweetie. I'm just adding to this. We also noticed by doing reverse math from their year-end, numbers, that there was approximately 150 to 200,000 missing every year in their numbers. So continue.
Yeah. So anyhow, to mock Watchtower, we thought that we would keep track of it, and then it blossomed to what it is in today. Now, originally, what we did is we put a qualifier on it that you had to have been disfellowshipped or had your letter of disassociation read after 2014, because that's the first year we started that. And then as it grew, it's like, well, wait a minute, we're going to have to make adjustments here, because now we have PMOs that want to be on it because they're physically in, but they're mentally, they're done with the bullshit. So we made the
big secret.
I love that. He said that physically in. Okay, we talked about acronyms. Do we have an acronym for physically in but done with the bullshit?
Yeah.
What is that? ID. I don't even know what that acronym is.
That's going to be
a long one.
GWBS.
We actually have PMO elders, pioneers, Bethelites, and one secret overseer on our coffin lid. A secret overseer.
Watchtown Bible Crap Society, is it?
That's mine. I Watchtown Bible Crap Society.
So whoever has left and is not going back, we have a pin for you. We have an old timers for those that left before 2014. We have a little heart for those who were like
Bible studies and quit.
Bible studies, or kids that were raised in it but never baptized. I mean,
we're going to make accommodations.
Yeah, but now
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm a special case because my blood family was not JWs, but I was indoctrinated.
I was a born man.
It happened when I was like 5. So
yeah.
And then I could never get baptized because I was not 18 yet. So I guess Jehovah was looking out for me after all.
Oh, that's right. Well, bless you, Molly. Bless you. Jehovah is looking out for you. Lean on Jehovah, Molly.
Then what we did is we started. Then what we did is we started tracking property Watchtower was selling, and it just kind of started as like a mocking thing. And it started growing and growing. And a friend of ours made a coffin lid that's about this big. And now we just did a video last weekend releasing the Watchtower Property Tracker because a team of activists, love you guys, best, team ever. Many in Australia, Adam and Laura and Bill. I mean, my goodness, they put together this Watchtower Property Tracker. And so now we've got the links down below that video. You can go in and put property. It got to be so much for me to find all these properties. I mean, there's more than I can take care of. And so we just can't do the nail and coffin for the Kingdom Hall and Watchtower Property ourselves anymore because it's grown so big. The last time I checked, Adam had updated it. $2.61 billion Watchtower property has been sold.
Wow, and they always crying broke and want you to wear them suits from the from the secondhand store. But while they walking with Italian made suits and watches, Rolexes and Jehovah Witnesses that are Emma, they always say in the groups that they aren't Rolexes. They are Rolexes.
Yeah. But when I heard about the Brooklyn buildings being for sale, I researched that and I put together a list and it went over like 2 billion. I was like, what the hell? And then I found out about the IBSA, which is all the apartments and the buildings in the UK.
Yeah.
And looked at the price of them. How is it worth $1.5 million? And there's loads of them on the website. Yeah, it's just like, what?
It's a real estate scam.
Yes.
I mean, a real estate scam. It seems that way anyway. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but it seems they just flipping properties. That's all they do.
They need money. They need the money to silence all the CSA.
And we figured there's probably double that amount that they have sold since like 2004, 2006, because that's really when we started our tracker. But it started escalating in 2012 when the Australian Royal Commission was announced. Now it's our theory, our group's theory, that that's when they really started selling property. But there is so many that we don't know the price of. So that $2.61 billion is a very low figure, and that's only the ones we know about.
Yeah. I also sent you a link, but I don't know whether you looked into it, guys. I found out that they also sell machinery, lorries, antiques. Like, so when I discovered that website,
vans,
all kind of stuff.
They probably get stuff like donated for QuickBuilds. They use that and then sell it up.
Yeah, I forgot about the stocks and shares that they own. They say they don't profit from it. They also say that that they inherit this from people who passed on or who have died, and so they didn't actually buy the stocks. They just actually, I don't know, watching them and benefit from it. It's kind of crazy. So before we move on, I just want to let you know that we're approaching a little time in a live stream. I don't know, anything can happen. I don't know if we're gonna get cut off at this point, but I do want to let you know. All right. Hey, we can stay all night,
and
but
so I go to work tomorrow.
Right. So I just want to let before just go around the glass table before. Well, let's start with our guests, Kim and Mikey. Any final thoughts, last thoughts before we go?
Thank you so much. I mean, so much. It's just all jumbled up, but thank you so much. Thank you to all of you activists, who have put your time and your energy Love you all. And take time for yourself. You know, if you're in this for the long haul, take time for yourself. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about everyone contacting us, because I love everybody contacting us and anyone who needs help. And, you know, we try our best. We try our best to answer as many as we can and help as many as we can. But that's why we keep doing this. We've actually quit and retired several times through the years and said, that's it. I'm tired of this bullshit. I'm done.
And like when you guys left, that brief moment that y'all did left, I actually did a video. I was very sad. I was like, how dare they leave? Don't leave. But I also understood. It just was also a sober moment. Like even Carmen, Mikey, y'all can get sick of people, y'all.
Yeah.
Then you get an email or phone call. I mean, we got a phone call from an older woman. Sorry, I get emotional over this. She says, you saved my life. She says, you literally saved my life. And then something comes up that we can use against Watchtower, and we're back in the fight again. It's like, oh, hell no. We're not getting away with this. Yeah, we're back in the fight. It's like we just can't leave because it's ones like that. It's phone calls and emails like that. And I know Mike can agree.
Well, we've even fielded a call one time from somebody in California, and we're now there again, you don't know if this is just somebody just talking, reaching out to get a little bit of attention or whatever. But I took a call one day and I spent like about maybe an hour or so with a woman on the phone. And she confessed, she says, I'm sure glad that you were at home. You took the time to talk to me, because she says, I've got a loaded gun right on the table right here.
Oh, wow.
Right there. And now what if I'd have been out doing anything and not taking that call? Right. Who knows? Who knows? But you know, the thing is, those situations are real. Those things happen. And it's a sad thing that this religion that uses a book that is entitled God's Holy Word that destroys so many lives. Destroys so many lives. So, you know, for me, you know, the more that I can mock Watchtower, the better I love it. But the flip side is that Watchtower is using a book that's man-made, a book that contradicts itself. But we've been so indoctrinated not to look at the contradictions. And that's what I've been focusing on a lot lately, as most of you know, is that I am looking at the contradictions, and I'm working a lot with EXJW Elder's wife, Jane Doe, finding these things and putting together these videos, because like she says, and she says it better than anybody else, this book is not worth dying for. It's just not. And when you really get to look at the entire history in that book, it's part Civil War, because that's what these people are doing. They're killing each other over what? Who has, or who's worshiping the true God. But when you look at the entire history, they never ever worshiped one singular God.
Spoiler alert, it's already edited and ready to go. We'll probably upload it tonight, but he did a video over the weekend that everybody will just be like, oh my God, this is right in the Bible. How come we never saw this before?
And it's right there in plain sight. But see, the thing is as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were always taught that we know the Bible better than anybody else.
Right.
Now,
we were told that.
As a JW, I did read the Bible many times. And even when I woke up, I went back and I reread it again. And I'm rereading it now with, you know, Jane Doe. And we're amazed at the stuff that we still missed, even as awake as we are now. It's like, wow, how did we miss that the last time?
Right.
It's the more, a lot of people will understand this and some may not, but the more your pineal gland opens up, the more you will see.
Yeah.
And that's understand and comprehend.
I tried to read the Bible for myself, and I got as far as a few verses from Genesis, but then I read like, man made God in his image, in our image he made them, and I thought, hold on a minute, our, that's more than one person.
Yeah.
And it's there in the New World Translation, but we never focused on that. And then I was just like, okay, so that's the first thing.
How Watchtower explains it is that is Jehovah speaking to Jesus. But this is what we all missed. If you take a mirror and you look in the mirror, whose image are you seeing? You're seeing yourself, right? So if God says, let us make man in our image, well, God is a spirit. God is God. If we have the image of that God, then are we not by extension gods? Now, I know a lot of people don't warm up to that. But if we are created in the image of a monkey, then we would all look like monkeys. If we are created in the image of a turtle, we'd all look like turtles. If we were all created in the image of a cow, we'd all look like cows. But the Bible says we're created in God's image. So we, by extension, should be gods.
But you know where he made man and then he made woman. So I said our. What woman was God with then?
Yeah.
Let's make man in our image.
Model. Right. See?
Well, not only that, but when we first left, we were watching Jeff Benner's videos on YouTube, and he's a Hebrew scholar. And he said the language in that is God the Father talking to Mother Earth, because we're dirt in spirit. So let us make man in our image. Some may believe that the Anunnaki, ancient aliens, whatever you want to believe, created us. And those were the gods, the Elohim, who said, let us make man in our image. And there's just so much. And the thing is we do not have proof, 100% proof either way. We don't have proof that the universe started with, a spark, the Big Bang. We don't have proof that a God created man and woman. We don't have absolute proof that the Elohim, the gods, created us. We just don't have that proof right now.
Thank you so much, you guys, in your comments. I'm not ignoring them. I'm trying to flash them all on the screen as fast as you guys are. There's a lot of, we love you, Mike and Kim. You helped me, Mike and Kim. So, Mike and Kim,
we love you.
When you guys get a chance, please go back and read some of these comments. I know you get so many all the time, but
yeah, and we love everybody too. It's like, since we're older, everybody's like our kids. So
y'all hear from Kim and Mikey first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop Kim and Mikey's as if y'all don't even know what their channel is. Okay, but we'll go ahead and drop it because they are saying that they are releasing a new video, so you guys don't want to miss it. And we're gonna ask the Kim and Mikey before you go. We're gonna actually go out with the outro because you guys know I always forget the outro, but I'm not gonna forget it tonight. I got it queued up and ready. It's kind of good. I think it's good anyway. I don't know why I think it's good. But I don't know.
It's always good.
All right. So anyway, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us for 3.5 hours tonight. You guys are troopers. Y'all hung up with us live for 3.5 hours through all the bumbles,
it's
the mess
almost 4 a.m., y'all. I don't think I will bother to go to sleep at this point.
We're probably in Hungary. You're in a whole nother day, right?
It's
tomorrow.
It's Monday here. It's Monday.
Right, it's Monday here. All right, well, it's Monday here. So we want to thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you later.
Yes, thank you.